Hello, everyone, and welcome to Academic Coaching for World Changers. This is Dr. Pam. This is June 3rd, and this is our NCE. And I think I'm teaching the theories, right? Knowing your theorists, theoretical orientations, helping relations. Make sure I'm in the right place, right time. And that's not what I'm teaching. What am I teaching today?
Helping relationships.
Yeah, that's the theories. Those are theories. Okay. The heaviest part of the test. That's really what we're working on today. Okay. So what I said to Kevin and anybody else, if you've taken the test more than once, I used to say more than twice, but I'm going to say really more than once. If you've taken it more than once and you are really, really struggling, you studied the first time, you gave it everything you've got and you didn't pass, I'm going to say that you probably need some accommodations. I usually recommend 2 extra hours and a private room standard. So the ADA says that I'm not ever going to say no. They're going to say that they need more information. Test anxiety is not a DSM diagnosis, so you cannot use that. You use generalized anxiety, free-floating anxiety, because you always had it. You've paired it with a test. That's a Pavlovian term. Pavlov says you've paired two things together, right? You've paired anxiety with the test. So when you go to take the test, your anxiety goes all the way up. Okay. So the Yerkes-Dodson law, and it's a law, not a theory. Yerkes-Dodson was written for athletes, like gravity's a law, right? Things just fall down to the ground. Okay. Like, my breasts used to be up here and now they're not. That's just a law. That's gravity. Okay, the Yerkes-Dodson law says that if my anxiety is too high, I really just can't perform. And again, it was written on research for athletes, but we use it for everything. So do you see my screen with the Yerkes-Dodson law? Am I sharing that? So what it says is when my arousal is so high, when I am so anxious, I can. So this says I can do simple tasks. I want to tell you, I can't even do the simple task. I struggle. I lose my car keys. I lose my bank card. I lose my mailbox key. I struggle with the basic stuff.
Your computer.
There's a book called.
You're not connected to computer audio. Why not?
Are you talking to me? I think you're going to mute you. So thank you. Okay, so the Yerkes-Dodson law just literally says that when my anxiety is so high, I really can't do difficult things. I just can't. I can't. And I'm going to tell you, I can't do simple things. I can't do simple things. The getting up and getting dressed. One of my clients shared to me once the day before exam, she went to Starbucks and she ordered her usual. And when they called her name, she couldn't remember what she'd ordered. That is when your anxiety is so high that you can't function. Okay. That's a law. Anxiety is real. It's real. We say it's real for our clients. It's real for you. So this law says if your anxiety is so high, you just can't. Okay. Anxiety is again, I can't say for everybody, but yeah, I've had my share of panic attacks. I won't call them, put my own stuff out there. Okay. So also, I'm also ADD. Look at that. ADD. So ADD people, we are very smart. We are so smart. However, we have trouble focusing. I cannot sit still for 4 hours and take a test. I can't. I cannot. I am not capable of that. I am not. Okay. I'm doodling. I'm wondering like, oh my gosh, what are my kids doing? Did I make something for dinner? Even at the highest peak, I just can't. So for me, my ADD would also then allow me to ask for accommodations. I need extra time because when I'm thinking about, did I put the bill in the mail or how are my kids doing? I just stand up, walk around, stretch, do whatever, so I can come back and get it back together. I'm also going to say that I'm a 58-year-old woman. My bladder is not the same way it was when it was 20. I have 3 kids. So I can't sit for 4 hours because I go to pee like 3 or 4 times. And I can avoid coffee. I can do all those things, but I still need the extra time. So there are lots of reasons to apply for accommodations. And again, I will say if you've taken the test, I just say more than twice, but I say more than once, and you really studied, you really might need to apply for accommodations. If you do it on the first time that you apply for the test, there's no extra charge. If you already have a test date and you do it later, it's $35 extra. But please be aware that accommodations are across the board. There's so many things that you can get. I have clients that test in 2 days because they physically can't sit for that long. I have clients who have the blood sugar drops and I can't sit for 4 hours. So I need 6 hours. So I don't have to worry about the time. The ticking of the clock freaks me out. Okay. And also, if you spend time with me, you're not going to say it's a reading test. It's a reading test. And you really need to just keep focusing on the reading. And I can't have you focusing on the time and then not focusing on the reading part of the test. Because it's a reading test, whether it's one line or whether it's the whole paragraph. I'm going to say to you, and I've shared with my staff, and I'm not sure if you're tutoring with any of our staff members, I'm going to say to you that you have seen that the NBCC, the one that you take every 6 months, the last 6 months, the passing score has gone up to a high as 103. Anybody seen it on Facebook that passing score is 103?
Legislation that we might see the president.
So you take the NCC, the one that the NBC is the one, sorry, the NCE is the one that you can take every 90 days.
Here, Congress
Okay. Oh, somebody mute yourself. Mute everybody.
Oh,
Okay. And again, I don't mind if you unmute yourself to speak. I don't mind that at all, but just I'm going to mute everybody and then you can unmute yourself if you have a question. So I've told my staff, and we're going to take ownership for that. I don't pretend like we're the only tutors in town, but you've seen people that have scored 127, 138, 140. Those scores have gone way up. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. That is never, ever our goal. We just want you to pass. I've never taught anyone to get one of those high scores. No. But unfortunately, what we've seen is the numbers have gone way up. And what you know is the NBCC, the one that you take every 6 months, that is normed by the people that took the test, in that 6 month period, you see those scores have gone entirely higher than they've ever been. I've been doing this for 5 years and I've never seen a minimum score of 103. Never. So, and I used to always say, if you got a 95, 96, 97, 100, I could guarantee that you passed. I can't say that anymore because it's normed. It's just normed on what that group of people did during that time. Okay. We tutor a lot of people. And the people that we've tutored those scores have been ridiculous. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I swear to you, I am not trying to change the curve. I am not. It's never been my goal. But be aware that score has gone up, especially if you're taking the NBCC. And I don't know what it'll look like then if you're taking it in the fall, right? That 6 months. Again, it's normed on what the people took that time. That's the one that says pass or it says taken, not pass or fail. Okay, it just says taken because you can't get your score until it determines what everybody else tasted. And then there's a number sent out there. Does that make sense? There's lots of questions on how that test is scored. So there are like 6 or 7, 12, 13,000. There are lots of different versions of the test. And I've seen on Facebook where someone say, I took this version of the test. I still can't promise you that's going to be that. I do know that there are tests with longer vignettes, tests with shorter vignettes. I know enough about retest reliability that says the test questions ask the same thing, right? So all of the areas we have to cover. There have to be so many, the percentages have to match. But definitely this scoring period surprised me. And I'm not easily surprised. I've been doing this for a very long time. But this testing score of anybody see on Facebook people that needed 103 to pass? I'm like, dang. Okay. So I'm crying in the corner and I don't need the test. So I just want to put that out there. So again, the NBCC, not necessarily your state test, but the NBCC is based on the norms of what people test, the scores of that testing cycle. And last testing cycle, it was really big. Okay. questions about that? Because I try to answer a lot of questions on how, because there's really no rhyme or reason. Abigail, how are you, Abigail?
Hi, good. How are you?
I'm good.
I realized when I signed up to take the test, which I'm taking in August, is that my name on that is not the same as my driver's license. How do I get that
Ooh,
fixed?
that's a
before-
problem. That's a problem. Anybody know how to fix that? I can tell you, if you go to the site and your name doesn't match, they're going to kick you out.
Yeah, it's just my middle name is not on it, but my middle name is on my driver's license.
I would guess you have to go back through, I would say Pearson's, but you might have to go through back the whole process. I don't know. I can just tell you personally, because my name
Sure.
is Pamela Janine Winton Turner. And if I don't use all of the names that
Yeah.
match my social security and my driver's license, I go by Pam Turner, I get in trouble.
Yeah. So I guess try to start by calling them.
You're in, wait, I think you're in
Texas.
what?
Texas.
Texas. Okay.
I did the same thing. I have a double last name. So what I had to do, I emailed NBCC. And then the lady corresponded back to me and she sent an email to Pearson so they can change it on my testing ticket.
Because
Okay,
when you get there,
thank you.
your ID has to match up perfectly, because that, again, you also can't fly that way if your ID doesn't match. Yeah, I can't buy plane
Okay.
tickets under Pam Turner because
I know. I
it's not
figured
my
that
name.
was-
It's not my name.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. I'll do that then. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Those of you that it's your first time with me, welcome, welcome, welcome. First of all, if I didn't welcome you. And I also want to say, so the way the day normally goes is I start off with just open questions, just questions in general about how life is going or questions you have in general. And then we're going to go directly to what we're talking about today, which is helping relations. So does anybody have any questions in general?
I do have one question.
Okay.
The first time that I took it, that was like, this is nothing that I studied for. I thought, and I got an 84.
Did you use the purple
second
book?
time, I did, but I don't think that it was helpful. So right now I'm using the blue one, and I bought these flashcards, but I'm not big on flashcards, and I'm doing the one-on-one with your company.
Mhm.
And the second time, that was like, I know this, but I didn't sleep well that day before, and I went back to change a lot of questions, and I got an 87. So I'm like,
Have
oh
you
my
not watched
God,
any
yeah.
of my videos? I will hunt you down
No,
and
I
kill
haven't.
you if you change answers.
Yeah, I didn't.
Okay. Never, ever, 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 ever. Okay. So if you're taking it at home, okay, remember you only get to take it at home one time. Any home people in the room? Any home people in the room?
They allow me to take it this third time. The first time I took it at home, the second time in person, and the third time they allow me to do it at home.
You got 3 times at home?
No, this is gonna be my third time is gonna be at home. The second time was in person. The first at
Yes.
home, in person, and then at home.
Oh, you got to take it again. I'm impressed. Okay. So you said this time coming up, you get to take it at home. Okay. So just some rules about at home. You can't move your mouth. You can't talk. You can't move your mouth. You can't move your mouth. I think you're talking to somebody. And also remember that if you're staring at anything too long, okay, then they'll think you're cheating, and they'll think that you're going to ding you for the test. Kevin, what I would suggest is really figure out your learning style. Okay. And that's one of the things that you can talk about with your individual person is how do you best learn? I would die before I had to write note cards. I would totally die. I don't learn that way. But I have lots of clients that I tutor with, and I'll see your background. Who did I tutor today? Maybe I've been in this group, and they had they're highlighted everything, and it's on their board behind them with like highlighted and color. I don't learn that way. That makes my head hurt. So you have to figure out how you learn. I'm an auditory processor. So as a company, we always say that you need to study 90 days. 90 days. You study 3 separate hours a day for 90 days, the same content. So most often, if you're doing it with us individually, you start with the career section. So you're going to learn super. Super has 3 different career theories, right? Super has the rainbow, which is life roles and life spaces. He has the arcway of determinants, right? Which is really talking about at the top of that is my true stuff concept. The left is your biological, and the right is the environment, right? And when I come together, That's that one. And then we talk about GEMD, right? Growth, GMED. And then we talk about the stages of those, which is the CSI, crystallization. Crystallization means that I should be in my career. I should know exactly what I want to do by the time I'm in high school. That makes no sense whatsoever today, but according to Super, that makes the most sense. Okay, so when we're coming to theories, that's all that matters is, do you know what Super would say? Okay, so it's really a matter of not memorizing. It's, can you have a conversation with someone else on what you learned? And people will say, well, Dr. Pam, I'll know it when I see it on a test. That's not true. You get that one line, sometimes. And if you don't know enough about Super, you're going to struggle. Okay. Okay, Charlene, I'm going to call you out and you can hate me later. I thought we was done. Charlene, I thought we was done. I thought we broke up.
I thought so too.
I'm sorry to see you again. I'm sorry. Sorry. I guess the results went as we had hoped.
Yeah.
Will you share? You can say, Dr. Pam, none of your business at any time. Did your score improve? Did you hang up on me, Charlene? I think she left me. Okay. I'm never ever trying to call anybody out, ever. And I ask questions because we take ownership of what we didn't do. What did we not teach you? So if you with our company, if you tutor with us, if you follow our rules, if you tutor with us with 90 days, follow our rules, attend the individual and the group sessions, and don't test until we say that you're ready. We take ownership. That means I didn't teach you. And that's my job, is to figure out what I didn't teach you. So those of you that have taken the test, and usually I'll have someone come back and talk about what they did. But honestly, we take full ownership. I am not trying to take all your money. I swear I'm not. And I'll tell you all day, every day, don't you dare buy one more piece of material. Most of you own too much material. It's a matter of learning and understanding the material that you have already. That's the key, is just understanding it. Somebody had a hand up. Judy?
Yes,
Mrs. Carruthers. Is it Miss Carruthers?
Mrs. Carruthers.
Mrs. Carruthers. Okay. Okay. So then how are you? You
I'm
took
very
that,
well.
that
How are
late
you?
act. You took that drug and alcohol test, didn't you?
I did.
And you passed that, right?
I did not.
Oh, okay. Damn. I'm sorry.
And
I
you
wanna
know
stop
what?
today.
The reason I did not is I had all kind of accommodations, private room. I had a reader because of my vision. I had extended time, but what I probably should have done was taken my anxiety medication. And I didn't take it. And I was just like everywhere. I didn't want to hear the reader read because she couldn't read. I'm like, this is really on my nerves. So I would say anybody that's on anxiety medication, take your meds. I didn't take my meds.
I take it in a couple of weeks. That
Pardon?
same test, the LCD, the test for the LCDC. Is that what you took?
No, I took the substance abuse exam. I'm in Michigan.
That's
It's
what
the
I'm-
same. It's the same. It just
same.
depends on what
Okay.
state you
Okay.
live in. It depends on what
Yeah.
state that you live in or what test you're taking.
Yeah.
And
Where
I'll say
I've
to that.
been, I've been studying for that, and I need to come back to this along with it for the last few weeks.
And that's kind of like what I'm doing. And the other thing is I was studying for this one, I was studying for that one, and I was studying for my gambling license. So too much and just everything.
Okay, I'm
I
sorry.
wanted
I'm
to
sorry.
ask
I'm sorry.
you-
There's a gambling license?
Yeah, there are only 3 people in the state of Michigan that are credentialed to do gaming counseling, and I am one of them. I was the first one.
Wow,
But
that is not a
gaming-
national thing. That is not a national exam. That's pretty cool.
There is a national gambling, and I was studying for that one. Gaming is just now coming into the forefront. So I made sure I hopped on that while I knew everything. So, and it's a little bit different. But what I wanted to ask you is there a difference and is there a benefit to taking the NCC over the NCE, or are they just both the same? Or I
It
heard you talk
depends
about
on
the
your state.
scores.
Some states offer one, some states offer the other. It really just depends on your state.
We offer both, but you have to pay a little bit more to take both.
So that's a state question. Every state is different. So that's a state question. I can't answer that one.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
Thank
but
you.
whether you take the NBCC or the NCE, the test is still the same. It's still the same, exact same test.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Charlene, was that your way of saying, Dr.
Dr.
Pam, I don't want to talk to you? Is that
No,
I can take a
My
hint.
in-
I swear I can.
my internet.
Okay. So can you share what I didn't do? What did we not teach you? And again, you can say I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'm really not. Are there things on the test that you saw that I didn't teach you or you didn't learn that I didn't teach you? That's what I want to know.
I think I was just very surprised. Like a lot of the practice test was not like the test just looked foreign to me. It was a lot of one-liners that I just was really about 70% of the test was one line.
Okay.
I almost ran out of time. This is why
Okay.
I'm getting I got accommodation this time around.
Thank you. Extra hours in a private room.
Yes.
Okay.
Was that for the
and-
NCE?
So again, the NBC, the NBCC or the NCE, it doesn't matter. It's exactly the same. It's the exact same test. It just depends on what your state chooses to use. There are several versions of the test. There's one version that is a longer version, and there's one that's the one line. I will take the long test any day because it gives me more to work with. But many times I just get the one line and I have to know what verbiage belongs to that theorist. It is really that simple. It is really that simple. I have to know the verbiage. Okay. Okay. I'd like to get to some questions, guys. Anything else you want to ask me that you've seen before? Thank you for Charlene. Thank you very much for sharing. I
I'm
really appreciate it.
sorry. I didn't get to ask my question.
I'm sorry.
Actually,
Go ahead.
someone told me that if the committee sees improvement of my score, there might be a possibility that they pass me, like even if I don't hit the average. Is that true?
No.
No? Okay.
It is criterion based. What does that mean? Anybody? There's a criteria. There's a passing score. So objective are just the facts. And that's the facts that's the passing score. That's all that matters. So yeah, no, it's criterion. There's a number. The problem is the number can change based on what test you took, based on what state you live in, and based on what the passing score is at the time. You could get the exact same test 6 months from now, and the passing score may be different. Every state has the right to test it to set its passing score. And I know this is so convoluted. I swear I didn't write it. I don't make it up. I'm just sharing with you. So it's very convoluted. It's very unclear. I can tell you in general, if you live in a southern state, sometimes the passing score is lower on the same test. I've seen people get an 84 and pass on the exact same kind of test that they took in New York or New Hampshire and needed 100, not 100, but needed like 87 or 97 to pass. Every state sets its own score. That's why there's reciprocity. You have to ask the other state to accept your license. Because just because I passed it in Georgia does not mean that's a passing score for Florida. Because every state gets to set their own rules. There are about probably 10 or 12 different versions of the test with different scores. So it is very convoluted. It is. Okay. What I said to you earlier is what you understand is the test score that we saw on the NBCC, the one you can take every 6 months. If your state uses that one, there was one version of the test that the score was 103 to pass. And what I want to reiterate is I've never, ever seen a score that high since all the time I've been doing this. And I'm a college professor, so I've been doing this for a very long time. I've never seen a score that high. So what I always used to say to my clients is if you were scoring at least 100, I could guarantee that you would pass. I can't guarantee that anymore for the NBCC when you take every 6 months because it's normed. It's based on what people took the last 6 months. Okay, it's recorded and you can go back and watch this video because I know that is so hard to understand because it makes no sense. I get it. I'm just sharing the message. I always say to you that, you know what, if you don't like the way it is in your state, pass your license and sit on the board. Sit on the board and then have some say-so what actually happens in your state. Okay, but I really want to get to some questions. I don't want to spend kind of the entire time really looking at what's not right with the test. So I'm going to choose a solution-focused approach where I can focus on what's right with the test. So solution-focused is that brief therapy, right? It's 6 to 8 weeks, very brief. You guys know that I love the Helwig book. It's my absolute favorite. So let's just go over some content in general from the Helwig book. I don't like the purple book just because I think it gives you too much information and you really only need you really don't need all that information. I'm going to put that out there. We need the basics.
Dr. Pam.
Yes.
This is Janelle Pearson. For the NCMHCE, the National Clinical Mental Health National Clinical Mental Health Council Examination. What score do you need to pass that exam? Do you know?
That's the same thing. It's actually based on your state.
Well, my state is South Carolina.
I don't know what South Carolina requires, but it's based on your state. So that is why there's not reciprocity. Does that make sense? Because every state gets the right to set what they need.
Okay. All right.
That's messed up, isn't it? Let's just face facts. That's messed up. So messed up. I'm gonna give you a couple examples. So for example, if you live in like New Jersey allows for language accommodations. New York does not. So if I passed my test in New Jersey and I scored it very high, if I try to get a license in New York and I had accommodations, New Jersey won't accept it. I'm a clinical social worker by trade, guys, you know that. So my clinical background is Florida. Florida is one of the ones that has a very, very high passing rate. Okay. So I passed my test in Florida. So I had no problem getting a license. I'm licensed in Georgia, Tennessee, and North and South Carolina. Okay. This is because those are states that I worked in. But because Florida had a higher score. And that makes no sense. It makes no sense. I'm sorry, it makes no sense. Okay, am I sharing my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
You're looking for page 84?
I am, is that what it said? Yes, I am looking. So I didn't start at 84. I'm in the Helwig book, okay? If you don't have it, I'll give it to you afterwards, because if you have your book in front of you, you won't pay attention to me, and I want you to pay attention to me and not the book. I'll also say, guys, that I'm going to speak very, very fast because I'm trying to brain dump. So I suggest that you don't take notes, just be with me in the moment, do some mindfulness, stay with me, and then we'll answer some questions at the end. Okay. If you have questions while I'm lecturing, just hold on to them for a moment. If you put in the chat box, I'm a lot ADD and I'll lose my one train of thought. I got like one good brain cell. I did raise 3 children and I don't have a lot left. Okay. So when it comes to our helping professions, that's where I'm at. So helping relationships are my theorist, and knowing the verbiage of my theorist. That's one of the most important things. Okay. So what I know is many years ago, when I first started practice 30 years, you could lie on my couch for 3 to 5 years. I could do psychoanalytic theory. I made mega bucks and no one ever asked me any questions. We just said as a client, feeling better? And we said yes, and they paid me mega bucks. It was great. It was so great. It lasted about 3 years of my career. Then what happened, of course, is then HMOs came along, right? The health maintenance organizations. Health maintenance organizations said, research says you don't need 3 to 5 years laying on Dr. Pam's couch. You need about 12 sessions, right? So when we're looking at the test, psychoanalytic Freud, psychodynamic Freud, psychodynamic is what we do today, about 12 sessions. Same theories though. Can someone tell me what is the goal of psychoanalytic or psychodynamic theory? What's the goal of that theory?
It talks about the past.
Okay, well, what's the goal? How do I fix you?
Bring the unconscious to the conscious.
Very good. Unconscious to the conscious. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so that's what Freud said. Freud said that everything is in your unconscious, right? That things are lying down there and we need to bring them up to the front. So my defense mechanisms, are they good or bad?
Good.
So
They're
what he
not
said-
good nor bad.
Okay, what he said is they protect us.
They protect you.
They protect me exactly from things that I am not ready to handle. That my body is just not ready to handle that stuff. So we're going to keep it down there. Do you see my screen? Do you see my topography, the unconscious? Okay. So Freud's theory, and as crazy as Freud was, he's my sex guy, right? Freud said everything was about sex. Your mama didn't satisfy your erogenous zones. She took the nipple out of your mouth too soon, and your mouth was not sexually satisfied. That your anus, she potty trained you too soon, and your anus was not sexually satisfied. Your erogenous zones, okay? And then, of course, the phallic, where I found my toy box, hey, right? So again, if I didn't satisfy that, then I would be stuck in those stages for the rest of my life. So Freud's theory was everything was in the unconscious, and his goal was to move things from the unconscious to the conscious. So whenever you see the terms like insight, okay, a behavior therapist doesn't care about insight. A behavior therapist does not care about why you did it. They want to change your behavior. A psychodynamic, a psychoanalytic therapist wants to figure out what's underneath so I can bring it up. Okay, so my id, pleasure principle, right? Super ego, my angel. They're a constant battle, constant battle. My id wants what it wants, and it wants it now. My id says eat, sleep, and have sex. My id says, Pam, oh my gosh, it's Saturday night. And someone says, you don't look like you're 58. I bet you can get some tonight. Oh, that's my id, right? My super ego says, girl, you know better. Never, 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 never. The ego is the part of me that's keeping both of those down. The ego is always balancing my id and my super ego. Okay. So ego defense mechanisms, ego integrity, ego syntonic, ego dystonic. That's the part that we work with. Make sense? Okay. You see, that's all in test questions. Okay. So my id, again, my id, I'm born with my id. My id says that we need to eat, sleep, and procreate. Freud said if we don't have an id, that human nature would just die off. It would just go away because we don't have an id. Super ego says never, never, never. If you touch that down there, you'll get hair on your palms. Don't be touching that. And then your ego is what demonstrates. So pre-conscious are things we can recall by ourselves. Okay. And things that are hidden in the unconscious are things that I need a Freudian to pull up for me. So a Freudian would use a couple of things, right? So he would use that Rorschach, which is the black and white. He would also use the thematic apperception test. It's the TAT. Are you seeing my screen with the black and white photos? Okay. So no matter what you said, remember, you're an idiot, according to Freud. Okay. Only the women in the room. Men, men didn't come to therapy back then. But Freud, and again, time frame wise, is very early 1900s, and you literally could put your wife in the insane asylum for very, very little reason. You had a new law hot chick on the side, you could lock up your wife. No big deal. Okay. So what we know is then he said that your problem with women, he said, it's actually in your uterus. Okay. But it's in your unconscious. And if I could pull the things up from your unconscious to the conscious, then we could figure out what was going on. His first theory was based on Anna O. That was a case study. It wasn't his case, but it was based on the theory of Anna O. Okay, so someone be brave. See the second picture or the first picture? Who wants to tell me what they see?
I think what I see is in both pictures, the men look good.
Okay,
In
in this
one
first picture, well, in this picture, do you see a man?
Am I looking at the same picture?
I'm asking you. Okay, so this one is like a person in the front and like a shadow in the back. Is that what you see?
Doesn't look like a shadow to me. Looks like a mature lady.
And is this person a man in the front?
Looks like a male to me.
And this one is a man in the front too?
On the other picture?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Freud would say you need to have sex.
But if I remember what you said,
there's no right or wrong. There's no right or wrong.
Okay.
Whatever you see is in your unconscious. There's no right or wrong.
Okay.
Okay. There's no right or wrong. So what he said is you're projecting from your unconscious on to the picture. Okay. And no matter what you said, he's going to say you're wrong, honestly, because Freud was the expert. And he would say, this is what it really means. Okay. So somebody else, tell me, in the first picture, do you see a man or and a woman? What do you see?
I see a woman in the front
first
part.
picture?
Yes.
And
And
what's in the
then
back picture?
her older self, maybe.
Ah, so what's the conversation she's having with her older self?
Oh, I don't know.
You
I don't
brought
want
it
to get
up. I'm
old.
just saying,
I don't
Freud.
want to get old. Yes. I want to stay young.
Okay.
And the second picture looks like she's trying to get his attention, but he's kind of ignoring her and kind of pulling away from her.
Okay. So what do you think is happening in the second picture?
Rejection.
Okay. She's feeling rejected.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, I can tell you all that what I think Freud would say, but I'm going to leave it at that. So
He's
again,
going to say wrong.
exactly. No matter what you say, you poor dumb woman, you don't know what you're talking about. Thematic appreciation, thematic appreciation. So this you might see under assessment, you might see it under or helping relations. This is Freud's tool, projective from your unconscious onto the picture. And Freud was subjective. So his opinion wasn't fact. It was just what he thought. And he would tell you that you're wrong in a heartbeat because Freud was the expert. Okay, that is Freud. So we see the term neo-Freudian. What does that mean?
Followers under Freud, but also had their own theory.
Yeah. What did they not believe, Sabrina?
The sexual one.
Absolutely, absolutely. Freud is our sex guy. Sex, baby. Okay. So sex is Freud is the only one that believed in the sex. The oral, anal, phallic, ladies and gentlemen, only belong to Freud. Our other neo-Freudians, okay, and I don't usually teach these separately, but remember, they believed in the unconscious part, but not the sex part. They did not believe there was an id and a superego fighting. They just believed things were unconscious. Okay. And again, those of you that have taken the test, you can tell me if I should teach those, but I don't normally teach them separately. I just tell you to look at the neo-Freudians. They place more emphasis on the ego than the id and the superego and no sex stuff. Sex is always Freud. Okay. So horny from Henry Sack Sullivan, Otto Rank, all those people are neo-Freudians. I don't teach those separately. Okay. So I will teach you about Margaret Mailer. Margaret Mailer is a neo-Freudian. Okay. What was Margaret Mailer's theory? What did she say?
Dr. Pam,
Yes.
at the end of our session, could you email me the theories so I look back and study them?
If you don't have a copy of this book, I will definitely, I'll put it in the chat box. Okay, you'll get a copy of this video.
Because by reading the guys, by reading the handouts will help me along the way with trying to pass this test.
So I'm an auditory processor. So I'd say listening to me all day, every day would help you pass the test more than reading, but that's me. But if you are a visual processor, then yeah, make your note cards, go back and stop the video and make the note cards. I'll put this in the chat box. Pretty much everybody else. Well, I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna say it all. I'll put this in the chat box. And this, if you know me at all, guys, you know, this is the book that I really, really like. So I'm putting in the chat box. I can. There we go. There we go. It's in the chat box. You can now download it. Okay.
The theory is always what gets me.
You and everybody else. It really is. It's knowing the verbiage. And if you struggle with the group questions also, it's because you struggled with knowing the theories. So this is the heart of what we do. That's why it's so important. That's why it's the highest part of knowing the theorists. Okay. So Margaret Mailer said that, somebody tell me, Maddie, Charlene, go ahead, you tell me. Thank you for volunteering. What did
Margaret Mailer, she believed that you didn't have some form of attachment to a caregiver. You were more likely to develop some type of personality disorder.
She did.
As an adult.
She absolutely did. Absolutely. Perfect. So she said that if you don't bond with that one person, now Bowen talked about different attachment with different theories, but Margaret Mailer said that one person. Hey, great job, Charlene. So this one says fusion with the mother. Her original theory said autism was the first stage. Right. So later theorists have changed that because when she wrote this in the early 1900s, autism wasn't a thing. But then she added, so it's called either autism or fusion. She said in those first months of life, you don't, baby's just born, it's like there, right? The second month of life is called symbiosis. Symbiosis is that I recognize that I need this thing to live, but it's not a conversation. The baby doesn't realize it's separate yet. If you watch my videos, there's no conversation between the mold in my refrigerator and like the canned beans I left in there last week. They don't talk. The mold doesn't say, hey, can I grow on you? Blah, blah, blah. But because the conditions are right, I left it in the refrigerator for a while without a lid. The mold's going to have a conversation. The mold's going to grow on the can. That's symbiosis. The same way that like on a tree, like you might have moss on a tree, there's no conversation. The baby at this point just knows I need that thing to live. And then, so symbiosis goes to the next one. So you might see separation, individuation, or the term differentiation. Between 5 and 10 months is when babies learn they're separate. I'm not the same person as my mom. Okay. You might see a question, early human development talks about when babies realize that separation anxiety starts. That's going to be the same age because I realized, oh, wait, we're different people. Okay. So, and then object constancy happens between 2 and 3. Between 2 and 3, if I haven't had the same caregiver, I cannot develop object constancy. Internally, I have never learned that one person has got my back. So, you know, this theory was written in the early 1900s, and she researched it on children in Vienna, Austria, who were living in orphanages. Okay. So what we know is at that time is they had lots of different caregivers. If you hang out with me for any amount of time or you see my videos, I think this is very, very common theory today. Mom has a baby when she's 15, 16, 17. And caregivers, people around her really want to help her finish school. So baby stays with her mama, stays with his mama, with play cousins, with cousins, and they love them. They love them. They love them. But between the ages of 2 and 3, I've never had the consistent caregiver. So I haven't grown up knowing that one person has always got my back. So what she said is, if I've never learned that as I grow up, then I'm really going to struggle. She said borderlines, reactive attachment disorder, narcissists all could develop because I never learned unconsciously that somebody had my back. Okay, if you watch my videos, I'll say I did a great job with that because my kids travel the world. Don't check in with mom. I'm like trying to on my phone, trying to find out where in the world are they at? It's like, where did they go? So my son went to Iceland one time because he just wanted to see the Northern Lights and the flight was cheap. So, but I'd like to think that unconsciously they know that no matter what happens, mom's got their back. Okay, mom's got their back. And if I don't develop that, then I grow up the rest of my life just really not trusting the world. Reactive attachment disorder, that's that little kid one, right? Where they actually, they'll burn down the house because they haven't attached to that caregiver. Okay, so along came now was Carl Rogers. Carl Rogers said, oh, you Freud people, you are idiots. The client is the expert. And he purposely did that. He purposely came along and said, y'all know nothing. Okay, so before him, so again, my Freudians, my neo-Freudians, the therapist was the expert. We knew everything. We were telling you everything about your life and what was wrong. Carl Rogers said, He said, the client is the expert. And if you see that, it was a very purposeful choice. Rogers reacted against the directive analytic approach. He said, the client is the expert. I'm not here to fix them. I'm here to help them understand their phenomenological approach. If you went to school more than 20 years ago, that wasn't even a term. It wasn't even a term, okay? That's like a new term. Your phenomenological approach is your phenomenon, how you see the world. Okay. If you tell me that outside your house, so if you see outside my house, my screen there, outside my house, come on, maybe not. There's cars, there's grass, there's people outside my house. If you tell me that the grass is blue and the sky is green, I'm gonna say, okay, that's your phenomenon, and I'm gonna stick with whatever your belief system is. Okay, so he focused on more on the client's phenomenological view, reflecting, clarifying their verbal and nonverbal communication. Remember, reflection is one of those listening skills where I use the feeling words. The client didn't give me the feelings. Didn't give me those words. I use the feeling words. Okay, they're verbal and nonverbal. What he said is, I want the client to be the very best that they can be. And if I listen, if I provide a genuine look, congruency, what's coming out of my mouth matches my body. That's congruency, right? It matches. That's genuineness, according to Carl Rogers. Unconditional positive regard and empathetic understanding. If I do all of those things, the client will figure it out all by themselves. I love Carl Rogers' approach. If you've watched my videos, I'll say it was like a Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. If you're old enough to remember Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, there was a newer version released. And go back and pick it up. There's a newer version released. An image here. You see my screen? Mr. Rogers? Okay. You're not old enough to remember, just go back and Google it, because I think in the newer version, somebody I don't know. This is the older version, okay? Again, my own theory is it's not by happenstance that these things are released about the same time. Mr. Rogers came out in like the late 60s, and so did Carl Rogers. Okay, so in the neighborhood, everything was fine. You could do it. You clown Mr. Rogers' lap. It was safe then. He wasn't going to molest you. You could lay out test on his lap, right? And he would tell you everything, and no matter what you said to him, everything was okay. So Carl Rogers said, it's okay. It's okay. It's really okay. No matter what you want to tell me, it's okay. Okay. Does Carl Rogers' theory work for everyone? When you see those test questions and it says Dr. Pam is a child molester, and she continues to have little boys sit on her lap and Dr. Pam molests them, are you going to give me unconditional positive regard? You better not. You better be calling the popo on me, right? No, it's not okay. So when you're understanding the theorist, knowing that that's not the best theorist for everybody. And I get a lot of you in practice. Do you use unconditional positive regard? That's a very common one, right? Mr. Rogers, but you don't use it with everybody. You don't. So understand that it's a great theory, but every theory has its approach and its timing. Okay, so, and you'll see a lot of times in those test questions, you'll get this is a scenario or this is the group session. And it's going to ask you, which theory is the best? This is the best theory for drug and alcohol users? No, not at all. Oh, okay. Those are I'm taking my LADC or my drug and alcohol test. There's a different test, but for the NCE or the NCHMC, no, this is not the theory to use. No. Okay. You also might see a test question that talks
They
about
do say it is the theory to use for the drug and alcohol one.
I will say that
they also say
test has a different answer.
Yeah, it also says it's because you work with getting rid of people's ambivalence.
But I'm not teaching that test today, Abigail. So hold on to that, okay? I want to confuse people. I don't want to confuse people, okay? So that is not for this test, the NCE or the NCHMC, that's not the best answer.
You said what's not there to use again? For
the unconditional positive regard is not the best answer to use with my drug and alcohol people.
Conditional.
Okay.
Does that mean person-centered though? Rogerian would be not for drug and
all
alcohol?
the same. Person-centered, Carl Rogers, Rogerian, all the exact same thing. For the mental health test, that is not the best response. That's not the best answer to treat drug and alcohol people. Because drug and alcohol people and pedophiles are in denial. Right? And I'm not going to live in your denial. That's not the best treatment for this test. Any mental health test. The drug and alcohol test is a different story. This test, any mental health test, not the best approach. Okay. So that term self-actualization, that's the only time you'll ever see it unless it belongs to Maslow. Maslow is your hierarchy of needs, right? Maslow says that's what we're trying to get to, being the very best we can be. So you might see self-actualization with Carl Rogers also. Okay. But again, verbiage matters. Every theorist has their own verbiage. Unconditional positive regard, genuineness, empathetic understanding. He said, if I do that as a therapist, the client can figure it out by themselves. You might see a question though that says, what makes the second part of this theory so hard? That's when the client has to make the changes. And I'm not telling them to make the changes. They've shared with me, they've emoted, they've done all these things, and now they realize this behavior isn't okay. So they have to make the changes to get where they need to be. Okay. He did not diagnose. He said it pathologicalized people's behavior. It made your behavior sound crazy, and he wanted to normalize your behavior. So he did not diagnose. In the real world today, and for the tests, you have to diagnose?
Yes.
No.
Sorry. I was real confident.
Diagnose to get paid. You do not have to diagnose. Diagnosis based on the insurance company. If you are a cash person, you don't have to diagnose. And I say that to say, because there's usually an ethics question, right? that the client comes in, they present with this. They present with not having a career, and you diagnose them with GAD. That's unethical. That's also illegal. So I can't diagnose you just for the reasons to get paid by an insurance company. Again, this is not the real world. This is the test. In the real world, does it happen all day, every day? How many of you have seen the schizophrenia as a diagnosis and you cannot prove that it's been at least 6 months? Absolutely. Absolutely. In the real world, that's what happens. For the test world, that's not the right answer. I can't diagnose you unless I can prove you've had 6 months of psychotic behavior. But in the real world, I show up in the emergency room and I've got psychotic behavior. I'm going to diagnose you with schizophrenia so I can get paid. Illegal and unethical. Don't be going back to your boss and saying, Dr. Pam said, okay? I just want you to understand there's a difference between the real world and the test world, okay? In the real world, you all see people, you see that mamas, you see the siblings, the brother, sister, you all see them separately and you get paid. That's unethical. You cannot do that. Unethical for the test. Not okay. Okay. My next one is one of my favorites because I had to do this lots of times. So that is Fritz Perls. Fritz Perls is Gestalt. What's the theory behind Gestalt? Kiera Faulkner. What's the theory behind Gestalt?
Here and now.
Here and now.
What? Tell me more, Kiera. Only one voice of Kiera. Kiera, can I see you, baby? Kiera Faulkner, can I see you? Turn your camera on. Thank you. So, Kiera, I'm a college professor and I've been a college professor for the last 20 years. And do you know what I know? Is if your camera's on, you're paying attention to me, you ain't washing dishes, you ain't doing some other stuff on the side. You're actually paying attention to me and getting all your money's worth from this group. Okay, so if you're not sure and you're new with me, if your camera's off, I'm going to call on you. That's a given. That's a given. Honestly, don't waste your time. Put in 90 days, make the effort, and you'll never see me again. I swear, I'm trying to divorce you. So, okay. So Kiera, so tell me, you said here and now. So what does that mean and how does it work?
Focus on the present.
Any more than that? Can you see my screen? The here and now, the word Gestalt means holistic. I want you to be a whole person. And you can't be a whole person if you're still living in the past. Okay. So here and now figure ground belongs to here and now. Can you see my screen? Do you see my, oh, come on. There we go. No.
Yes, try it.
Okay, mute yourself. I don't want to hear your, I don't need no chicken. Come on. Come on. You see the vase or the face? Anybody? What does it have to do with Gestalt? Anybody?
Aren't you dealing with the unfinished business? And to be able to move forward, you have to get rid of the unfinished business.
That sounds great. But what does it have to do with the face and the vase? This is called figure out. And you're right, Regina. You're absolutely right. Okay, but that didn't answer my question. How does that relate to the picture that I'm looking at? The vase or the face?
I'll answer it.
Rachel?
I don't know if I'll be right. But I think,
Don't ever start a question like
Sorry.
that, girl. Say like it.
sorry.
I
think it
I
has-
will say the answer, whether I'm wrong or not. I'll feel like I know what I'm doing. Okay.
It has to do with just Gestalt because it's saying that you can see two different images here. So you want to be able to see one and then be able to see the next thing, which is by looking at it as the whole picture, seeing both things, which Gestalt talks about is when one thing happens, okay, you figure it out. Now we're picking up right away the next thing. We need to look at the whole person, figure out everything.
Absolutely. Perfect. So what he said, perfect. Okay. So what he said was the goal of Gestalt is to be a whole person. Okay. And I can't be a whole person in the here and now if I've got lots of unfinished business, stuff I haven't dealt with. Dr. Phil uses all the time. If you're not old enough to remember Dr. Phil, just leave my group. Sorry. He would say, pretend your mama sitting in that chair. What do you want to say to your mama? Right? It doesn't have to be that they're dead. They can just be, you divorce them, or they can be down the hallway, right? You got to get rid of that stuff before you can be whole. And the figure ground is whatever you see, the face or the vase, that's what you're dealing with first. And he said, when you deal with that first, then you'll see whatever's in the background comes to the foreground. So, and all you're dealing with is what is in front of you. But the goal is that I can see both of them are gone because I'm a whole person. Gestalt literally means a whole person. Okay. And if you hang out with me anytime, y'all know that my husband died. Oh gosh, it's been 8 years, but he was under my bed for about 5 of the 8 years. And I spent a couple of years in therapy trying to get the ashes from, he was not, okay, not his whole body, the ashes were under my bed, not the whole body. Just the ashes were under my bed. And I spent a lot of time in therapy, letting go. He was dead. But it was still very much a part of my life, very much a part of my kid's life. And I would say, well, what would your daddy do? And what did your daddy think? But he was dead. And I couldn't be a whole person. I couldn't be okay until I let go of the past. So whether it's literally someone who's dead, whether it's drug and alcohol use, whether it's the last test you took and you didn't pass, it doesn't matter. Until I let go of that, I can't be a whole person. Okay. And I know that many of you people in the room use this in therapy now. You just don't give it the verbiage. And if you give it the verbiage, you'll understand what it looks like in real life. How many people in therapy, in your clients, you've told them to spend time getting rid of their past? Right? You had them write a note and set it on fire and burn it up or whatever you did. All of those things are letting go of the past. Because in order to be a whole person, I have to live in the here and now. Make sense? With the helping relations, you do this every day. And the best way to learn this is to take this verbiage and use it with your clients and use it at work. Tell your supervisor, you know what? We spent this therapy session today letting go of her past. We really use the Gestalt techniques, Fritz Perls techniques of letting go of the past. You do it anyway. You cannot bring your job into this test, but you can take this stuff that you learned for the last 6 years and put the verbiage into your job. You'll sound so smart. We're focusing on the whole person. According to Fritz Perls, she can't be a whole person because she's still hanging on to that past stuff. Make sense? Yes, Dr. Pam, you're amazingly brilliant. If you have nothing to say, that's you always give that answer. Hello, Sharon. How are you?
That's fine. And you?
I am good. I am good. Do we know each other?
No, ma'am.
Oh, well, we do now. Go ahead.
How does that tie into the onion effect?
The onion effect is peeling back the layers.
Okay.
Okay. So have you seen the term onion effect on the test?
No. This would be my.
Okay, so the onion effect would be, so peeling back the layers, that would be something Gestalt would use, because as you get rid of the unfinished business, I'm peeling back the layers to get to the here and now. Does that make sense? I've never seen that term onion effect on the test. Has anybody else seen that on the test? So again, going back to the question. So what I know is that am I sharing my Howey book again? Yes. Is that what you see? Okay. So to the extent a need is in the forefront, it represents the figure and the others are the ground in the background. As the goal is met, it completes the gestalt and a new need comes into place. The goal for individuals in therapy is to become a whole being to be a complete gestalt. Fritz Perls is the theorist, and the goal is to be a whole person. And I can't be a whole person when I've got unfinished business lying behind me. Okay. So Gestalt is also an experiential theorist. What does that mean? Anybody? And you can see my screen. You can just read it, right? Hi, Courtney. How are you?
I'm good.
Where do you live, Courtney?
Houston.
You're like, I had my camera on and she still called on me. Dang.
Oh,
Courtney.
right.
So the term experiential, do you know what that means?
No.
Can you read
no.
my screen?
Yeah, I can see.
Just read it for me.
Okay. This is an experimental therapy encouraging taking of responsibility by the client. The counselor uses confrontation and encourages the client to stay with feelings and relive experiences with finished business. Role playing, 2-chair techniques, and dream work are used. Interpretation is done by the client, not by the counselor.
Okay.
Pearl, Gestalt.
Okay. So I like this book because it's very, very direct. So if it's written in this book, it means you need to know it. The purple book will give me 17 things about Gestalt that I don't need to know. So experiential literally means a concrete experience. You're literally talking to the empty chair, or the 2-chair technique. You're honestly sitting at that chair right there saying, wow, I'm again talking to my husband, my ex-husband, well, my husband that died. Hey, you know what? I'm glad you're gone. Well, I'm sad you're gone, but now I'm glad you're gone. And my life is different. I got to get over this stuff. So I'm literally doing something. It's an experiential. It's an experiment, concrete, doing something. So literally, if you've done this in your own practice, you might know, but you're talking to this chair, right? Pretending he's there and you're talking to him. This is a good one for drug and alcohol users. We get to say goodbye to the drug and alcohol. Hey, I loved you, babe. We were great when we were hanging out, but you messed up my life, right? I spent all my money on you and you changed my life. I'm literally talking to this chair. That's what that means. It's an experience. Okay. So confrontation, and I'm going to get you to stay in the here and now. It's hard to let go of that stuff. Anybody, again, therapists that have used it, anybody gone through therapy, it's hard. It's hard. So it's a very directive approach. Okay. So the other person that you might see on the test that's experiential would be Carl Whitaker. Carl Whitaker is anybody know? What is he called? Experiential symbiotic. Right, experiential symbiotic. Carl Whitaker is the family therapist that actually moved in your house and lived with you. It was an experience. That's what that means, experiential. That's not the same as existential. Existential is why do I exist? Experiential is literally you're doing something. Makes sense? Yes, Dr. Pam? Yes, I've seen this on the question. I've seen the study guide. Yes, Dr. Pam, you're brilliant. Yes. Thank you. Okay. My dogs can't quite talk yet. We're working on it. Okay, so we're going next. The next one is individual psychology. Do I have a question, Abigail?
Who was the guy that moves into your house? I didn't get that.
Carl Whitaker. You'll see him under family theory. It's Carl Whitaker.
Okay.
Carl Whitaker literally moved in your house. He wanted to experience what it was like to be a family member in your house.
Okay.
In our family theory session, we'll talk about Mnuchin. Mnuchin joined your family, but Carl Whitaker actually lived with you.
Okay.
Alma, you're looking at me like, Dr. Pam, you made that crap up.
No, I was looking at the individual psychology.
Okay. Have you heard that before about Carl Whitaker then?
Yes, I actually did. It brought back memories because I had forgotten. And then when you were mentioning it, I'm like, oh, that's true. He did move in.
Exactly. So I'm not, thank you, by the way. Okay. I'm not teaching you brain surgery. I'm not teaching you anything that you don't know. You have a master's degree. The problem is that you got all A's and you might not have learned anything. But you got all A's, did you? Okay, 4.0, 3.9, look at me. Okay, you wrote a paper on it, but you didn't really learn it. And that's what we do, is really helping you recall the things that you've already learned. It really does. And I honed it in very specifically for the test, very specifically of what things are important in the test. And I'll always say to you, if you're not happy with the difference between the test and the school and the test, blame your school. Blame your school. Somebody at your school should have said this will be on the test. When you had a whole family theories test, so one of your professors should have said this is important. Okay, so I'm not teaching you anything that you haven't learned already. I'm just reminding you of what you learned. So Carl Whitaker, so Adler, most often, the only time you'll ever see Drucker is with this theory. So what I'm always going to teach you is what Adler would say. So most of these things are Adlerian terms. You'll see Adler in human development, right? He talks about the birth order, and he also talks about a theory. He's a helping professions. The words I'm looking for, the lifestyle, a unified life plan. The goal of Adler is to help you understand your lifestyle and identify appropriate social and community interests. So Adler talked about superiority and inferiority, birth order, right? Birth constellation. I'm a firstborn. Right? Look at me. I was feeling great. I was superior. I was the bomb diggity. I'm the first grandchild. Life is great. You know what happened? 2 years later, that dang child came along and I got knocked off my throne. So Adler said, I spend the rest of my life trying to get back up to feeling superior. Another term he used was guiding fictions. He said, the guiding fictions are things that I learned in childhood. That I was the bomb diggity. I learned that in childhood. But in real life, that's a guiding fiction, and that's just not true. So he's always going to talk about our inferiority, superiority, unified lifestyle, guiding fictions, birth constellation. That's verbiage that belongs to that particular theorist. Okay. PA is Eric Bernet. What did Bernet say? Anybody? Oh, I know people know. Let's see who would know. Who definitely knows this? Heather, come on, Miss Camfield. I know you know this. What did TA say?
He had the three ego states: the parent, the adult, and the child.
Absolutely.
And they had the whole life script.
Okay. So what's the problem with the three ego states? And tell me what his goal was. You're first of all. Absolutely right. Okay.
The goal was
can I see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So what is the goal of TA? Right.
I am.
Okay. No, you're good. You're good. Okay. So the goal of TA is to either live a scriptless life, because I learned that script in childhood, or to live the appropriate ego states. Okay. This is also a very directive approach, very directive. So Adler and Freud were directive. Carl Rogers was not. Okay. So this is a very direct, he would call you on your stuff in a heartbeat. This is I'm going to say a pretty recent theory, because in my lifetime, I know you guys weren't born yet, but this came along later. This was in the mid 70s, late 80s. And when it came along, it was the bomb diggity therapy. Oh my gosh, this new therapy is coming along. I know you're not even born yet, but so what he said is that inside of us, all of us have 3 ego states: a parent, adult, and a child. Yes. Okay. They sound very similar, like the id, ego, and super ego, but he said they weren't related. Whatever. So then, as I'm talking to you right now, am I talking down to you? Did I make you feel stupid?
No.
And if I
So
did,
it's
I
about the
apologize.
communication, right?
Exactly. It's how we talk to each other. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Very good. So as ego, as also adult, I'm talking to you. And I really, if you ever feel like I talk down to you, call me on my stuff, confront me, call me on, because I really don't want to. That's never the goal. I find that I am very privileged and very lucky to work with my clients. I think you are the best and the brightest in the field. And while I may teach you to pass the test, you teach me things every single day. So I don't ever, ever want you to come across as that I'm talking down to you. And if I ever do that, blow me out on Facebook. Won't be the first time. It's okay. Call me out. Confront me. It's okay. So adult to adult is how I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you an adult, and I want to learn from you as an adult. That's the appropriate ego state, right? However, occasionally I'm coming from a childhood state. I'm acting petty. I'm not using like the best thought process. I'm coming from my childhood state. If you've been watching my Facebook page or been with me, there was this whole thing with the neighbor ate my dog, and I was trying to sue the neighbor. We're in court, blah, blah, blah. My attorney said to me, Pam, do you want to testify or do you want to win? He was coming from the parent stage, was he not? He's trying to take care of me. He's trying to make sure that my dog doesn't get eaten. My child has said, like, I want to give him a testimony. I want to tell all he did wrong. I want to tell how mean he was to me, right? Right? That was my childhood state. I want to tell the whole wide world how mean he was to me. So in that parent state, because that's what I needed at that time, because I don't want to get up on court and say, blah, 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 blah. That was not the best choice, Pam. Really did? That was not the best choice. So at that point, I was in a very childhood state and he was in a parent state. And he said to me, do you want to talk or do you want to win? I want to win, right? So I kept my mouth shut. He didn't call me. He didn't call me to testify. Right? Because I wanted to win. So he came from parent child and he definitely kept me in check. Okay. It's okay. It's okay. Do you not have people in your life? Do you not have people in your life that when you're coming from a childhood state and they say, zip it? If you don't, you need somebody, right? Because there are times that I am very rational. I am coming from my childhood state and I want to take my game and go home. I just want to win. Okay, so that's TA. So hopefully in your life, you have someone who's going to come from that parent stage and say, stop talking. Okay. Complementary, that's what that's called. They're really trying to help you. They're trying to help you. This is the best theory for the NCE when it comes to my drug and alcohol people. Because in a group of drug and alcohol people, right? I'm the child coming like, oh, I haven't had a drink for 3 weeks. I'm clean. Look at me. Hopefully somebody in the group will say, Pam, you're an alcoholic. You cannot go out tonight. That's complementary. I need that occasionally. I need someone occasionally. If that lawyer talked to me like that every single day, we'd have a problem. But in that time frame, that's what I need to hear. The cross transaction means that I am aware. I'm in a relationship where, or in any kind of situation where that my coworker, my partner, the person I'm with, talks down to me. But I'm aware of it. I chose it. Okay. I can, my career, I got my master's when I was like 24 and I'm young and like, I think I know everything. And I definitely had people, especially men, that talked down to me that I didn't know anything. But I kept my mouth shut because at the time, that is what I was trying to work my way up the ladder. So cross, again, I'm aware of it. I chose this. I married a man that was 30 years older than I am, and he talks down to me. I work in a career where someone thinks I know nothing, but I chose it. The problem is the ulterior one. The ulterior one is the hidden one. What's the name of his book, guys? Eric Bernay had a book. What was the name of it?
Games people play.
Yes, the games people play. Because that third stage, he said, are games. That I'm in a relationship, whether it's a boss, a significant other, anybody, where I talk to them like an adult. I treat them like an adult, but they keep talking down to me. But it's kind of on the sly. It's manipulative and it's purposeful. A test question may look like, well, you know what, Dr. Pam, I would give you the money to open your business if you would just get your act together. Right? That's a game. That's a game. And the book he wrote was Games People Play, because he said people that are coming from that childhood stage, we call them on that. We call them on that. That's not okay. Don't manipulate me. Don't give me hidden messages. That's not okay. Games people play, because those are called ulterior motives. And he would call you on that to make it very directive. Make sense? Yes, you've seen this on tests, study guides, make sense? Scripts, right? We learned the scripts in childhood. So the goal of TA is to live a scriptless life, or to get rid of the scripts I learned in childhood. Yes, verbiage makes sense? Okay, again, the book will say the same thing. And I put the book in the chat box, the same thing. Okay, the goal is to teach the client the language and ideas of TA in order to recognize ego state functioning and analyze one's transaction. The book he wrote was The Games People Play. Thomas Harris was also a TA guy, but most often I don't see that on the test, and that's usually the wrong answer. Okay, what you're going to see is Eric Bernay. Existentialism, what does that mean? Somebody tell me. Hello, Miss Daisy D, lying up in your bed.
You question
do you know existentialism?
You question your existence.
So you're right. Give me some more. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Like for
Give me some more.
Frankel, when he was at that place, and going through the stuff at those chambers, he had to question himself, like why he needed to, I guess, to survive.
Okay. So you're so in the game. You're absolutely in the game. Okay. So existentialism is, you're right. What is my purpose? Why am I here? Okay. And so what happened is that's what you're talking about, is I talk about most often is Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl was the Jewish doctor that survived the Nazi concentration camp, right? And that's what he said. It's like he watched everybody in his family die. And he's like, Lord, why'd you leave me here? Right? What is my purpose? Why do I exist? And again, we're talking about terminology. So phenomenological approach, right? We know what that means. It belongs to Carl Rogers as well, right? So why do I exist? Why am I here? Okay, we search for meaning and struggle with being alone and connect with others. Anxiety and guilt are central concepts. Anxiety is a threat of not being, and guilt is when we fulfill our full potential. So, Lord, you left me here and I can't seem to get what I'm supposed to do. So I feel guilty. Okay. Awareness of freedom and choosing responsibility or other goals. Do you remember a couple of years ago, Rick Saddleback Church out of California, he wrote the book, Purpose Driven Life. There's a little journal that goes with it, and you had to figure out what your purpose of life was. Is this the best theories to work with a 6 and 7-year-old? Your purpose is to get up and go to school. Your purpose is to follow your mom's rules, right? We don't get to challenge your purpose when you're a kid. As an adult, we can talk about your purpose. We can talk about feeling lost and not knowing what my purpose is in life. So knowing the theorists and knowing what people with what population that would work with. So logotherapy is the name of the book. Most often you'll see that is going to be synonymous for logotherapy. Remember in my groups, guys, Yalom is an existentialist. Yalom's love of curative factors come from that as well. Okay. These are my CBT guys. So these are my behaviorist people, right? We talk about Beck. Beck is CBT. Meckenbaum is stress inoculation theory. He said, if you prepare for stress, so, and Beck, Meckenbaum is SIT, skills, inoculation, and then preparing. I'm going to keep going here. DBT is Marsha Linehan. DBT is for what theory? What diagnosis?
BPD.
Which one?
Borderline personality.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. It teaches mindfulness, stay in the moment. Borderlines, you'll always see in the question, oh my gosh, they come to see you and you're the very best therapist I've had. I've had 17 therapists before you and you're the very best. Oh my gosh, no one's ever understood me like you. Until you tell them something, and then when you tell them something, what do? They leave. Adios amigos, it's been great. Mindfulness, distress tolerance, interpersonal effectiveness, emotional regulation. Those are things that we're teaching. REBT, what are the letters?
Rational emotive behavior therapy.
That's REBT, absolutely. What's the ABCDE that belongs to that?
Ooh, activity.
Activating event.
Oh, external event. Is that what you mean?
Okay, so it's called the ABCD.
The belief system, the self-talk. I'm sorry, I was going through each of, I was going like A is activity.
Okay.
And
so
B,
I don't want to say activity. So for the test, I want to say the activating event. Something happened.
Okay.
Am I sharing?
Yes.
See my red box?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yes, but most often something happened. That's what separates this from CBT. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So REBT is something happened. I failed a test. Oh my gosh, none of you. I failed a test. Oh my gosh, this is the event. I failed a test. Okay. My rational belief system is I will never be a good therapist. My mom was right. I should become a teacher. I'll never become a good therapist. I'm awful. That's the irrational belief because I failed the test. If that's your belief system, then how do you feel about yourself? Oh my gosh, my mother was right. I'm a horrible therapist. I can't do this. I can't do this. None of you, other people. I'm going to come along and I'm going to say, wait a minute here. Now, I know you failed the test, but the person, the next cubicle beside you, they got a license and they keep asking you questions. Right? So maybe just because you failed the test doesn't mean that you're a bad therapist. Could those two things be separate? Is there a relationship between passing the test and being a good therapist? No, let's make that very, very clear. No, if you're not sure of that, no. I'm a better test taker. I know how to pass these standardized tests. Does that make me a better therapist? What? Oh, if you have any self-doubt about that, let me say that one more time. There's not a relationship between passing the test and being a therapist. Is that clear? These two things are not correlated, right? That's a research term. They're not correlated. They're not. Some people are really good test takers. Does that make them good therapists? Not at all. Not at all. There's not a relationship between these two things. So I'm going to dispute your belief. You can be an excellent therapist and not pass the test. You just don't have the standardized skills it takes to pass the test. That's it. These two things are not even remotely related. So that's rational emotive behavior therapy. I'm going to question your belief system. Why do you think you're not a good therapist? Why do you think you weren't a good wife? Why do you think this? Your belief system sucks. That's what he would say. I didn't make it up. He did. He would say, that's the problem, is your belief system. Yes, this event happened. Yes, you didn't pass. But don't you dare have an emotional reaction based on this event. Okay, makes sense? I don't write the tests. I don't write the theories. I'm just teaching them. Okay, but there's no correlation whatsoever between passing the test and being a good therapist. Those two things are not correlated. So that's the ABCD of REBT. Ask me questions, guys. I'm going to go into a couple of other ones and then go into some test questions. Ask me things that you want me definitely to cover. Okay, I'm just going to keep talking. What is the difference between eclectic and integrative?
Isn't eclectic when you borrow from everybody or use everything?
Okay, and what's integrative?
Is that where you kind of, I don't know. Is that where you use it kind of based on your client, maybe? Like you,
okay,
with the client.
Integrative, so definitely game, okay? So eclectic means I'm a kind of a jack of all trades. Okay. One of our best eclectic theorists would be Lazarus. Lazarus was basic ID. Okay. You see my screen? Am I sharing my book? Yes. Okay. Lazarus didn't have his own theory. Okay. So Lazarus was known for multimodal. What he said is whatever modality you present is how I'm going to treat you. So again, he didn't have any of his own theories. So eclectic means I pull from everybody. Integrative means I have my own theory. This is what I normally use. Maybe something I've come up with on my own, but then I'm going to pull in stuff from other people based on a particular client. Okay. So Lazarus said, okay, so however you present. So let's say that I'm depressed and my depression presents as a behavior. I can't get out of bed. I don't shower. He's going to treat me behaviorally. My affect is my mood, right? That's the look on my face that should match my body. So if I have a flat affect, then he's going to treat that for depression. If I say I'm depressed and my food has no flavor, it has no taste, that's how he's going to treat me. Same problem, different modalities. Multimodal belongs to Lazarus. He didn't have his own theory. He stole, borrowed, whatever he did from other people. The first I is imagery. The second I is interpersonal. Interpersonal is how we relate to each other. The first I is imagery. When my children were little, there were days that I imagined putting my hand around their throat and just choking the life out of them. Okay. They've grown up, but I didn't do it, so I can say it now. But there were days. That's when they're like 13, 14, that mouth just wouldn't stop talking. I know none of you. It's just me, okay? Days I would just choke them. And I would say, imagine choking those children. I know you're all perfect parents. But he would work with me with imagery. He would say, well, Pam, then imagine not choking those children. Imagine other ways you could deal with that. If I imagine myself, walking away from my job or leaving my marriage, he would, again, whatever I presented, that's how he would treat me. Because that's the modality that I used. Make sense? Yes? I've got some crazy looks like Dr. Pam, you really told your kids. I didn't really, I just thought about it. Ask some questions though.
Dr. Pam, is that the
Yes.
same as meeting the client where they are at?
Yes, but I want you to learn the verbiage of the theorist. It is the same, but what I'm looking for in the question is what verbiage the theorist would use. Lazarus wouldn't say that. He would say multimodal.
Thank you.
Okay. So I remind you of the verbiage, because what you're going to get in the question is that one line, and you might get multimodal, that one word. And if I don't know that Lazarus said that, then I'm going to struggle. So like you have your own clients, you have your own children, everybody has their different verbiage. And the key is to match the verbiage with the theorist. Who would say what? A behaviorist is never going to say, how do you feel? Behaviorists could care less how you feel. They're never going to ask you how you feel. So I have to know the theory to know in the questions. I don't care. The behaviorist said that you are definitely like an animal, or that all people are like animals, and I can treat anybody's behavior with rewards and consequences. He doesn't care that your dad died last week. A behaviorist doesn't think that way. Okay. Reality therapy is Glasser. Glasser and both Glasser and existentialism, you'll see choice therapy. Glasser said that I have these basic needs I have to get met, and how I get them met is really up to me. Sound familiar? Glasser said we have these innate needs, things that I was born with. Okay. I was born with the desire for power. I was born with the desire for freedom, born with the desire of control. And how I choose them to get them met is up to me. You see my screen? Yes. Love, power, fun, survival, and freedom. Okay. So if I decide that to get my fun today, I'm going to go out and I'm going to just, go, I think something bizarre. Dr. Pam wouldn't normally do. Dr. Pam decides, which is hard because my id. Dr. Pam decides today she's going to go out and she's going so my kids would say, smoke a fatty. That's what my kids would say, smoke a fatty. I'm going to go downtown to the local bar and I'm going to throw down a couple of shots. And Dr. Pam decides that's how she wants to get fun to this weekend. And on Monday morning, you see my face on the magazine, whatever the news, Dr. Pam gets arrested, blah, blah, blah. Glasser would say, Pam, you made that choice. You got to live with the consequences. Right? So he says, we all have these basic needs. This is what we need. We all need love and belonging. We all need power. We all need fun, survival, and freedom. Innate, that means born with those needs. And what he wants us to do is to make better choices of how to get those needs. Okay, so I'm pretty sure that, that's what Dr. Pam doesn't normally do. She normally has a better way of getting her fun. And if she does that, she's leaving the country and there's no cameras, so you'll never know. Okay, so whatever you need to get your freedom, your love, your power, you make a choice. And the goal then is you're responsible for the choice that you made. Make sense? Yes? So Glasser is, again, the words I'm looking for: responsibility and choices, innate needs, needs that I was born with that I have to get met. My feminist therapists, remember that it's not about women anymore. It's really more about making sure that I'm working for people that don't have power. The feminist therapy says that the personal is political. So if someone comes in and they're a member of the LGBTQI community, they come in, they're a member of any oppressed community, that the goal is to get power. And how I help them get power is the personal is political. personal. So if I came into my therapist and I said, I'm really depressed because, you know, blah, 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 he would look at, or she would look at what's happening in my own life, that I'm a minority category. And when I leave my house, or I live in a neighborhood that oppresses me every time that I leave. It did start off just for women, but it's not just for women anymore. Solution focus is that miracle question. You woke up tomorrow, the miracle happened. It's the miracle or the exact question. You woke up tomorrow and you're no longer depressed. You woke up tomorrow and, you know, everything was gone, or whatever the problem was. So miracle, externalize, miracle, exceptional, and then scaling. That's the verbiage I'm going to use with that theory. Narrative therapy. Which career theorist uses narrative therapy?
Savicus?
Yes, yes. Girl, why did you not pass that test? Sorry. Savicus, absolutely. He's a postmodern career theorist. And what he said was, I need to change my story. Narrative therapy also has its own verbiage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to externalize the story. So I've got this tape. I'm not old enough to remember. There was these things called like little cassette tapes. They had strings running down, right? Okay, remember that. So what happened is I've got this cassette in my head. The tape keeps playing. Pam, you're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You'll never make it. You'll never do it. I've got this tape in my head that I've heard 1,000 times. Whether I put it there or somebody else put it there, it's the tape. Okay. Anybody relate to the tape running in your head? Not good enough, not smart enough. You'll never be enough. The tape. So what he said is, what we want to do is we want to externalize it. Hit that eject button. Take the tape outside of your head. Hit the button. Okay. So once you eject it, you're going to clarify and question, why the heck do I have that tape in there anyway? Where'd it come from? Why is it there? Okay. You remember the CDs. So back in the day, I'm old. If a boy loved you, he would make you a mixtape. You'd have to listen to the radio, and you'd have to like hit record on like the radio and the tape at the same time, and he'd make you a mixtape. Anybody old enough to remember what I'm talking about? Okay, thank you. Okay. That was love. He made you a mixtape. Okay, it's kind of like a playlist now, if I'm old enough to remember. So it makes you a playlist. It's the same kind of thing. So eject it, take it out of your head, take it apart, pull those strings from the CD, take it apart. I'm sorry, from the cassette tape, take it apart, rewrite it, and put it back in your head. That's the verbiage that belongs to that theorist. If I know the verbiage, then I can figure out what they're talking about. So every theorist has their own verbiage. Does that make some sense? Okay, ask me questions. I'm going to pull up some questions, but ask me questions of things I didn't cover.
Dr. Pam, real quick, what would be some of the narrative therapy verbiage? Would it just be reality?
You tell me, girl. What's the tape playing in your head?
I want to pass this test. So would it just be language and words based on like
it is whatever theory is in your head. Okay. So if you watch some of my older videos, I will tell you that my mother told me, oh my gosh, you cannot wear white until after Labor Day. Memorial Day, right? You can't wear white. You can't wear white. You can't wear white. That is a tape that played in my head for so many years. I lived in South Florida. My kid said, Mama, it's 9 degrees all year round. Why can't we wear white? Because my mama said so. Okay. That's the tape that was playing in my head. You just can't wear white. And that may seem very simple, but that was a very big deal because that was the tape that I kept hearing in my head. So what I did is like, well, why can't they wear white? My kids were born in Miami. Why can't they? So I had to figure out where the tape came from, take it out of my head. We had to rewrite it, right? That you can wear white all year long. There's a winter white though, which again, I'm a fan of. Okay. That may sound very simple, but that was very much a tape that was playing in my head. Does that make sense? Does that make some sense?
Thank you. I
I got lots of other tapes if you want me to share, but so you get married for life. Right? That's a tape that was playing in my head. You don't get a divorce. Doesn't matter what happens. You don't get divorced because, you made a commitment. That's a tape. That's a tape that just kept playing in my head. And that tape then dictates my behavior. So a narrative therapy would say, change your story, change your narrative. No one else can relate to that but me, right? Because nobody else has ever had any issues but me, right? Y'all were all BS. Everybody in this field came to this field because y'all got stuff. I've been doing this for 30 years. I know, okay? 30 years in therapy. I know you all got stuff. Ask me other questions. And honestly, the best way to learn it is to really personalize it. Whether it's with yourself or with your client, when you're running that tape in your head next time, when your client keeps telling you stuff they've always believed, use narrative therapy. And you're going to do it anyway, because you're going to tell them, why do you believe that? You're going to do it always. So put the verbiage to it in your notes. Say to them, I had the client deconstruct their theory. I had them externalize their story and then reauthor it and rewrite it and put it back in their head. That's the verbiage for the test. Other questions? Great. So well, okay. Let's ask questions. Okay. Let's see. Let's do. Ask me questions, guys. Again, you paid to be here. Your time is important to me. Your money is important to me. Ask me questions.
Okay, so the best way to get this is to go back and review
1,000 times.
this recording. I think you said 6 days, 3 times a day, but I'm thinking 6 days, maybe 4.
So what we
5 times a
say,
day.
so
Same
what,
subject?
so the rule of that all of my coaches should be teaching you, and the rule of my business is that you don't know it until you can teach it to someone else. Okay. If I can give you a verb, a word, one word, and you can tell me what that means or who it belongs to, then you're ready to go on to the next subject. So we recommend that you study each subject, each theorist, until you can tell someone else what it means. So we recommend 3 hours a day, 6 days a week, but of the same stuff, only helping relations. You're only going to spend a couple of hours each day learning only reality therapy, learning only what Glasser would say. And when I can tell you well enough to what Glasser would say, then you can go on to the next subject. And for, again, I think I've said it lots of times, for most of my clients, the problem is that you have never learned how to study. That school was easy for you and you've never had to put this much effort into anything. And this is hard. This is hard. It's hard. So whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, whatever you do, you have a license and it's 6 years of school, and it's a lot of material, isn't it? It's a lot of material. There are 12 career theorists only, just in careers, there's 12. So I've got to know which theorist would say what verbiage belongs to which theorist.
I have a question, Dr. Pam.
Yes.
I'm gonna have to get off in a minute because I have to go to work, but everything you're saying is true as far as going to school, making straight A's and, learning this material, because that's where I'm at. Like, I made straight A's 4.0, and I wish they would have said what you said. This is important because I feel like I'm all over the place. But my question to you is, how do I how do I stay focused? Because a lot of times, sometimes you may be teaching, or, you know, a lot of times I be doodling, or my mind be like, I can't stay focused. How can I stay focused?
Do you know what that's called?
No.
ADD. there's a diagnosis for that. I'm sorry. I got some Vyvanse for you. You want I can
I
share
would
my
like to
strength
ask
with
you
you.
personally. I told a group, I said, I gotta ask her, what medicine is it? Do I go to a psychiatrist? Do I ask the primary care physician? Who do I ask to give me something to
again, I will always put my stuff out there, so nobody else does. I'll put my stuff out there first. I got my little Vyvanse right here. Okay, I was on Adderall before, but you know there was a nationwide shortage on Adderall. We couldn't find it, so my psychiatrist switched me to Vyvanse. So
that's what
Vyvanse is $50. I'm gonna let you know that. I'm like, whoa. But yeah, I am very much attention deficit. I'm very aware of that. In school, girls don't get in trouble because we're not ADHD. We just can't focus. I'm smart as crap. You know that? I was writing all the time, Dr. Pam, Pam loves this, Pam and Bobby sit in a tree, KISSING. Got in trouble because I right? Look, I didn't do that. I didn't throw a chair. I could sit down. What really got to me definitely was, first of all, two of my children are, well, all three of them, must not lie. All three of my children are ADD. And then when I went to get back to get my PhD, I just couldn't. I'd get everything laid out. I get the plan. I couldn't. Even now, I struggle with going to the movie theater because my mind is racing of all the things I could be doing at home. My students know when I'm a college professor, don't write me a long paragraph. I got the first line and the last line. Everything in the middle is gobbledygook. Okay. I get that privilege now because I'm a professor. And just say, I don't know what that means. Okay. Call me and talk to me because I'm an auditory processor. I can't. I just can't. But I'm 58 now. I'll be 58 now. Okay. And I know that about myself. I know that I can't. ADHD people, ADD people are usually auditory processors, and we're a lot smarter. I tell you that because we learn by listening. All you gotta do is tell me a couple of times and I got it. Okay? But I really struggle with day-to-day stuff. And if I wake up in the morning and it's like 10 o'clock and I'm like, Pam, why can't you get your crap together? It's because I didn't take my medication. I just can't.
Yeah, it's not procrastination. It's just I can't. I don't
know. I can't. But it's not a bad thing. That's just who I am. I don't see that as a deficit. That's just who I am. That's just, and again, part of being 58 is this is it. Right? That's all you got. And I love me now, and I didn't always love me always, but that's just who I am. That's just who I am. I do a lot of things. We don't ever outgrow attention deficit disorder, and we don't outgrow it. We learn to delegate. We learn how to fix it. My students, when I first started teaching college very early, don't give me a paper, because if by the time I left my office to get back to the classroom, back to my office, I've lost it. I can't. I just can't. So
we have to read things over and over. And if we have to read things like over and over again, what do you say?
See your doctor. See your doctor. See your doctor. So, see your doctor. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. ADHD people honestly are. So you see my schedule. I like the high-paced lifestyle. I would die. I get bored very easily. That's just who I am. And I need to do what I need to do to fit my life. And that's the same thing. And again, I say it not just because of you, but your clients. There are clients who just can't. It doesn't mean they're not as smart as. It just means they learn differently.
Okay, I got one more question. I know you said study 6 days a week.
I did.
3 hours a day.
Yeah.
But
same material. You get 1 day off.
Yeah. This may be ADD, but because my thing is I read over and over and over and over to comprehend, but then I have to go back and read it again because I haven't comprehended. So what do you suggest? How many times, like, should we read that instead of me trying to think I
why are
missed
you
something?
reading it? Why are you reading it? Why are you not listening to it, or why are you not making notes? Why do you keep reading it?
So I won't forget.
Is that working for you?
Mm-mm.
Can I say something? I've had the same problem. I may go to my doctor on Tuesday and get some medicine, but I have gone on to YouTube and I watch Dr. Pam's, but this is for my other tests that I have like really very little help on. And you just find things that are verbal that you could watch and hear them over and over and over again. And that's helped me a lot rather than just reading it. Because like today with this, I've heard some of this stuff on Gestalt till I'm blue in the face, but something Dr. Pam said made it click. I don't remember what it was, but it was a little bit of a different way and on some things. So the more you hear it, I'm picking up different pieces of it. Does that make sense, Dr. Pam?
That works for me. Again, I can only tell people what works for you. You're either an auditory. So most of us are primarily going to be we're primarily going to be auditory. We all are auditory. We all can remember songs and things you learned from as a kid, right? We've heard those songs over. So most of us are auditory. That may not be our primary. If you need to stop the video and take notes and make note cards, that's really okay. Kevin, you said you have note cards. Do those work for you?
No, and I divide them all like this, and I
They
just,
work for you?
they don't work. Nah.
So one of the things that I might recommend, Kevin, is again, I'm an auditory processor. So I will actually take those note cards and read them into my phone, record them, and then listen to those note cards over and over and over again.
Okay.
Because that's what works for me. Okay. But that, I would die before I made note cards by hand. I would totally die. I would die. I know why. Because when I started elementary school, I was blind. I really didn't. I didn't know I needed glasses since I was like 5. So I think those first formative years of my life, I couldn't see. So definitely, I'm just not an auditory processor, but it's not a bad thing. It's just how I learn. I'm an auditory processor. I learn by listening. I'm giving a speech in September. I'm speaking at a conference, and I've written the speech. And all I do, I've spoken in my recorder, and I listen to it every day. So by September, when I speak it, I'm gonna know it. And even though it's my own words, that's how I learn.
Okay.
We all have to figure out how we all learn, because we all learn differently. Go ahead.
Now I was saying I'll try that because when I listened to Rosenthal and them CDs, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't.
Please don't ever compare me to him. Okay,
No.
that's don't put us in the same category ever. That man could put you to sleep.
Me too. I did those audios and they didn't work. That's why that was like the audios don't work for me either. So I tried the flashcards, but
my audios, they're so much more fun. Okay, go to my YouTube channel and really listen to download my audios. Yes, and if you do my podcasts, those are not free, but the podcasts are just me talking. But definitely, just I couldn't. But it's not, I just want to understand, it's not a bad thing. It's just different. We all learn differently, and I'm hoping by now you know how you learn. Right. So again, I no way, no how. I would never do that crap. That's not how I learn. When my kids were little, I didn't understand they learn differently. And they would want like the colored stickers and like, why do you need colored pencils? Why do you need that? I don't understand. Because that's how they learn. That's all we want to do, is really figure out how we all learn. Okay. I'm gonna do some basic questions with you guys, some basic questions.
Dr. Pam, I like those colors.
Oh, Lord.
And reading out loud to myself.
I just don't understand the concept of that. I just don't understand. But
I read out loud to myself too.
Client self-determination. I understand where you're at. And if that's what you need, it's really okay. I just don't understand that. The colors make my head hurt. You know that? They make my head hurt.
I just love them. I just love them.
And that's really, really okay. As long as you know what works for you. Do you see my screen? Do you see 88? I'm sorry, 880. Yes, we see it. We talked about Lazarus. Lazarus is my basic ID, right? He's my multi-modality. Who wants to be brave and take this question for me? Look at you, Alma. You wanted to volunteer. I can tell the look on your face. Dr. Pam, call on me. Read this one for me. Please read it out loud. Can you see it?
80, right?
80, yes.
Which of the following would least relate to one of Lazarus' 7 modalities?
Okay, and here's my basic ID. I remember that. So
is it C, having a conversation with acquaintance?
okay, so first of all, it may be C, but here are the rules. You have to read the question out loud and read all 4 of the answers and rule out. Okay, so, and I probably didn't tell you that. It's recorded, and when you go back and listen to the recording, it makes it easier. And also, I always want you to read all 4 of the questions. Okay, so read out loud for me.
The act of standing up or sitting down, the perception of an order that doesn't exist. B, C, having a conversation with an acquaintance, and D, having an idea about how to solve a problem.
Okay, so basic ID, right? That is the behavior, the affect, which is your feelings, sensations. First I is imagery. The second one, so it's basic. The C is your cognitions. The second I is interpersonal, and D is drugs, but actually talks about physical, not necessarily your drugs. So which did you pick?
Having a conversation with an acquaintance.
Okay, that is not the right answer. You want to go again? Kevin volunteered to help you out. Do you want Kevin to help you out, or do you want to keep going?
You could help me out.
Okay, Kevin, you want to help her out?
I think it's B.
Tell me why.
The way that I did it is, okay, the act of standing up or sitting down, that exists. Having a conversation with an acquaintance that exists, and having an idea about how to solve a problem. Oops, then I'm between B and D now, but I'm gonna go with B.
Okay, so tell me why though. That's the right answer, but I don't know that you know why. And all I really ever care about is why. I'm going to put up basic idea again and make sure that we understand it.
Mm-hmm.
So Lazarus is my multi-modality person, right? He says that I'm going to treat the client based on what they present to me. You see my screen? Okay, so I try to relate to Lazarus because in the Bible, that's, Lazarus risen from the dead by Jesus. I can't really relate the two, but I say my basic idea is who I am. I'm alive because Lazarus in the Bible. I know it's a far stretch, but that's all I got. Okay, so he said that however I present is how you're going to treat me. So my behavior, my affect, which is the mood, the look on my face, my sensations. So it says tension, but it's also my 5 senses. Right? Taste, feel, touch. Imagery. Cognitions are my thoughts. Interpersonal is how I relate to each other. And the D stands for drugs, but it's not really drugs. It really is about physical. Physically, what do you see? So if I report my depression is I can't exercise, I've gained weight, that's how he's going to treat me. He's multi-modality. Okay. So your answer is correct, but I don't think you know why. And all I really care about is that you know why. I'm sorry.
Then that was my best guess.
Does anybody, B is the right answer. Does anybody know why it's the right answer? Which is the wrong is the least?
Is it because the client has perception of an odor that doesn't exist? It's the client's perception.
Okay. If a client has a perception of an odor that doesn't exist, what is that called?
That
It's
was
because the odor doesn't exist.
What's it called?
It's
That's
it's
the
like
modality.
no, it's like a psychosis thing rather than yeah.
It's exactly. So that doesn't belong to Lazarus. If it said the five senses, he smelled an odor, that would be fine. But this person has a perception of an odor that doesn't even exist. That's a hallucination, right? All five of my senses can hallucinate. I can taste things, I can hear things, I can see things that don't exist. That's a really hard question. Does everybody get that? It's a hard question. And they just like mess with your head on that one, don't they?
I have a question. Okay,
Yes.
so which of the following would least relate to Lazarus?
Got it.
Okay, so the act of standing up would not be standing up or sitting down. Can you kind of explain that to me? Because I do understand the different what Judy said, but why wouldn't that be?
You tell me. I want you to think it, to process it out loud for me. And we'll go back to his theory. Okay, his theory is that we all have different modalities, right? We all process it differently. And however, the theory is that however you present to me is how I'm going to treat you. Okay. Okay. So then the question says, which of the following would least relate to his modalities?
Okay.
Keep talking. And I thank you. I thank you for processing out loud, because I think you're just doing what everybody else is doing and you're just being brave enough to share it with me.
Okay, the act of standing up or sitting down. So
that would be, go ahead. So that would be the D, right? D is the physical. It says drugs, but it's physical. That's the modality, right? If I can stand up and sit down, that's the basic ID. That is the physical one. So that's definitely one of his things. If I said that I am so anxious, I walk around the room and I can't sit down, that's how he would treat me, right? So that's the D in the basic ID.
Gotcha. Okay, I understand that.
Okay. So having a conversation with an acquaintance, that's the second I. That's the interpersonal, related how I talk to other people. D, having an idea of how to solve a problem. That's probably the C in basic ID. That's the cognitions, right? How I process and think about things.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Does that click? Does it make sense?
That makes a lot of sense.
So, and again, the test is mean. It's mean. And they're not trying to trick you, but it's mean. The perception of an odor that doesn't exist. That's hallucination. So he didn't talk about that. Good with me? Okay. Go ahead and do 81 for me. And what's your name? All I see is KDCRA. KLCRA. What's your name?
I'm Candela.
Oh, Candela, I should know that, shouldn't I?
No.
Yes, I should. Don't know me. You can go ahead and confront me, Dr. Pam. You should know me. Okay, so go ahead, Candela. Sorry, I'm really sorry.
And Ellis, rational emotive behavioral therapy. What do the ABC stand for in his ABCD modalities? Taxonomy. It is. So it's an ABC.
Read all four.
Actually, yeah. A is the answer. Action. Belief.
Read all four. Read all four for me. It's just recorded, and when you come back and watch it later, I need all four on the recording.
Okay, so A is action, belief, consequences, consequent effects, activity, behavior, and consequence. Alternative, beginning and correction, and avoidance, basics, and conceptualize.
Okay.
So
the ABC is the
ABC is the so we have, it's an action that happens. So we I failed this test, and I believe that I am.
Not you, other people.
I'm sorry.
Other people believe that, right? Not you. So
I believe that I'm slow, and my consequences is I don't know. What would the consequences be? I'm making
they're emotional consequences. The emotional consequences are that I believe I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
Let me give you another example. So let's say that I was married forever, right? And my husband left me. Okay. So the action is, or the event is, he left me. Okay. So when we were married, he told me I was fat and ugly and good for nothing and blah, all those wonderful things, right? If I believe that about myself, that's my irrational belief system. How am I going to feel about myself? What are the consequences? Am I going to be looking for a doctor to hook up with?
Absolutely not, because you
exactly. I'll be at the bar on Friday night, going home with whoever takes me home.
Or even
not you, just me. Okay. So that's the emotional consequences, because I believe of the event. This is what I believe. He could have been the worst man ever, but I believe that it's my fault, and I'm not good enough, and I'm not pretty enough, and I wasn't a good cook, and I was too fat. If that's what I believe, then the emotional consequences are going to reflect that. I'm going to go home with anybody in the bar who'll go home with me. I'm going to come along and I'm going to dispute that, right? That's the D. I'm going to say, let's go back and look at that. That man was a piece of crap. Okay, I'm not picking on men. I'm sorry. That woman was a piece of crap. Okay, so the goal is then you have an effective new belief system that you'll stop believing about the event. Okay. This is a really good one for drug and alcohol. That's when I teach that a lot with the drug and alcohol test, because a lot of times what drug and alcohol believers will believe, you know what? I got fired from my job. That's the action. And the belief is, now they fired me and I'm going to go drink.
Right.
You was an alcoholic before they fired you, right?
Right.
So that's the understanding behind that. It is the belief system that's the problem, not the event happened. The event was real. But what I believe about the event is the problem. Okay. You good with that?
Got it.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. 82. Go ahead.
Correct was A.
Correct answer was A. Yes.
Thank you.
Sharon, since you already spoke up, go ahead and take 82 for me.
Dr. Pam.
Yes.
What was the answer? What was the answer?
The answer was A. The answer was A.
Okay.
Okay. Hello, Sharon. How are you?
Just fine, and you? Number
Where do you
80.
live, Sharon?
I'm from Houston, Texas.
Got it. Thank you for hanging out with me on a Saturday night. That means you don't have a life either.
No, I don't. Trying to catch you.
One day I'm going to get a life, guys, so you'll know, but not yet. Okay. So 82.
In Ellis's rational emotive behavioral therapy, REBT, what do the D and E stand for in his ABCDE modalities classification? A, decisions and externals. B, doubt and engaging. C, disputing and effect. D, denial and excitement. And the correct answer is C, dispute and effect, because you're going to dispute it and then you're going to have the effect afterwards.
What's the effect?
Whatever, if you're going through a divorce, the effect might be the end of the going to court and having it all closed out.
So the goal is I'm going to have a new emotional effect.
Okay.
It's the irrational beliefs. I'm going to have different beliefs about the event. The event, I can't change the event, can I?
No, ma'am.
Exactly. 84, who wants this one? Actually, I'm sorry. I'm gonna do 80. I'm gonna do 83. I don't teach Harrington, but I did teach Glasser. And if you see a name that I don't teach, I won't say they're not important. Latoy, looks like you want to answer this one. The look on your face was like, Dr. Bam, call on me. I could just. How are you?
I'm good. I was just reading it. I was just
I
looking.
know, but you also read out loud. Use me.
Okay.
Suck every life out of me that I know about the test. Ask me 1,000 questions. That's what I'm here for. And you paid to be here. You better just get all you can. Okay. So.
Okay, 83. What would G.L. Harrington or William Glasser most likely say regarding transference? It is a normal process in therapy that can be analyzed and resolved. It impedes progress and need not occur if the therapist is genuine. It's disregarded as an internal state without observable behaviors. It is encouraged and it is used as a oh, it went off the screen.
It's gonna come back. I'm sorry, I just want to pick up someone. There we go.
Where did I go? Okay, it's encouraged and it is used as an exploratory therapeutic tool.
Okay. So Glasser is what theory?
Oh God.
Glasser is choice theory.
Choice theory, yeah.
It's choice and responsibility, right?
Okay. So I would think that the answer is A.
Read all 4 choices for me. Okay. Even if you know the answer, we're going to follow the same process.
Okay.
Because what happens many times is many of my clients will see like the one word they think that belongs to Glasser. And I want you to always follow the same process. So read all 4 for me.
Okay. It is a normal process in therapy that can be analyzed and resolved. B, it impedes progress and need not to occur if the therapist is genuine. It is disregarded as an internal state without observable behavior. It is encouraged and it is used as an exploratory therapeutic tool.
Okay. So Glasser is reality. He's considered postmodern. Okay. So I won't go back. I'm going to share my screen with you. Go back. Do you see my Helwig book in front of you about Glasser? Am I sharing that? So I'm testing from a different book that I taught from. Okay. So I try to make sure that you get the theories or theories no matter where I teach from. Do you see Glasser on 14?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So individuals determine their own fate and they're in charge of their own lives. Our perceptions control our behavior. We behave appropriately or inappropriately to fill our own needs because those 5 basic needs, remember? Survival, love, belonging, power, achievement, freedom. I should put there's a video, image there before, but it's the same theory, right? Choice therapy means we act to control the world around us, and the real world is important to the extent as it satisfies our own needs. We may not satisfy our needs directly. Taking responsibility is the key concept. Okay. The characteristics of, and this is from Helwig, guys, if you have the Helwig book, you know that this is my favorite. So the characteristics of reality therapy include emphasizing choice and responsibility. That's the first thing. My choice, I'm responsible. If I choose to sleep with my next door neighbor to get love and she shoots me, I chose that. It's my bad. Shoot me, my own fault. He rejected transference by being yourself as the therapist. Keep the therapist in the present, avoid focusing on the symptoms, and challenge the traditional views of mental illness. You might see him listed as a postmodern therapist. Has anybody seen that? Postmodern? Glasser's postmodern. That means he's a newer guy and he didn't buy into a lot of that Freudian stuff. Okay. Does that help you answer the question? Did you leave me? I think she broke up with me. Okay. Am I back to the question? Yes, you see 83 in front of me. Yes, everybody. Anybody else want to take a shot?
I would eliminate D.
Okay.
Because he didn't say that it was encouraged.
He did not.
My answer would be C.
Eliminate again.
I'm sorry, I would eliminate A is the normal process in therapy that can be analyzed and resolved. Because he didn't talk about analyzing and resolving transference.
And remember, transference is a Freudian approach.
Right.
So it's going to be a Freudian or a neo-Freudian.
Right.
And there's nothing about Glasser that talks about unconsciousness at all, right?
Right. I would eliminate B. It impedes progress and need not occur if the therapist is genuine. He didn't say anything about that in the research we just read, for lack of a better word, right now.
Judy, can I give you the bell if you tell me which theorist talked about being genuine?
No, you cannot.
Anybody help her out? Which theorist talked about being genuine?
Carl Rogers.
Carl Rogers.
Okay.
Yes, that's
Rogers.
verbiage. Who
Thank
said
you, guys.
that word belongs to Carl Rogers. Yes. Okay. I'm gonna take that out.
Okay. So I would say C because it says he disregarded transference. It's like there was no behavior to observe during the process of transferring. So he just disregarded it. That's how I interpret it. That's how I came up with it.
Absolutely. So do you understand how I can't just memorize what the book says? Because this is, I went back to and again, you know, guys, I love the Helwig book. I swear. But what the book said didn't say the exact same version, did it? It didn't say the exact same words.
No, it did not.
So you have to understand, you have to get the concept of what Glasser would say, because I'm teaching you the concept, but if I don't see the exact same words in the test, I still have to understand what Glasser would say.
So for me, Dr. Pam, I looked at reject and disregard as the same. Two different words, but for me, the same
But
meaning.
it means the same thing,
Right.
doesn't
Okay.
it?
Yeah.
So that's why I can't memorize them. I can't memorize the words. If I don't get the concept of what Glasser would say, I won't understand it in the question.
What exactly does reject transference by being yourself as a therapist really mean?
I don't believe in that BS. That's all it means. He didn't believe in it. And again, so every theorist has their own thought. Every theorist has their own belief. This is not a question of what do you think? It is what would Glasser say? If the question says, what would Freud say? Freud said transference was real and important. Glasser said it was BS.
Can you go back to the question so we could just see exactly what that question was again with the answer? Please.
And again, so I would never teach Harrington. He's not a biggie.
So from my understanding, he rejected it, right? Meaning that it was not, it's just because I was all over the place with it, but now I think I understand. Thank you for that. So I kind of want to talk about, so he just rejected, he said it was not, it it just did not exist at all. And so that let me see. And so, okay, I got it.
Keep talking, keep talking, keep talking.
No, I was just, because I was thinking way outside of the box or somewhere else, because I was thinking, because I guess I was thinking about Freud. You know what I'm saying? And so at first I thought about it impedes progress. But now I understand it as though he didn't think of it as at all. So we can't.
Just keep processing it out loud. And again, I know that, so you'll see the closed caption guys on the screen as well. So again, I'm an auditory processor. That's how I learn. But if you're not an auditory processor, it's okay. That's why I want you to just keep processing, keep processing. How do you, we process every day. We are therapists. Isn't that the problem? We process all day, every day.
Because as a therapist, that's what I'm thinking. Like, we can't have countertransference or transference, right? And because it would impede the product, you know.
Did you see your name in that question? What?
Exactly.
This was not a code of ethics. This was not of how we behave. This is according to Glasser. All that matters in this question is, what would Glasser say?
Absolutely. And that's why I wasn't sitting here talking through it, so I wanted to make sure I understood it correctly. And I just didn't get it, but now I do, because Glasser, regardless to what, it was nothing to him.
Exactly.
It meant nothing to him. And so, okay, I got it. I totally got it. That's, yeah. Okay, I got it.
We can keep talking. We are clinicians. Y'all know we like to beat this horse to death, don't we? We got to process it 1,000 times. That's just part of being a clinician. We just need to process the heck out of it. Okay, so are we good with that? So keep talking to me. Keep processing.
Dr. Pam.
Yes.
I don't mean to interrupt, but the answer to number 8 was it C?
You tell me.
I believe it was, but I don't remember hearing anything for that.
Okay. So Glasser did not believe that it was real. He didn't think anything at it at all. Okay, so the answer is C.
Okay. So, sorry about that.
Okay. No, don't apologize. Don't ever apologize. It's more important to me ever that you understand why than you get the question right.
Okay. I was right.
Because if you understand why, you'll get every question right.
Thank you.
Okay. 84 volunteers.
I'll do it.
Thank you.
I'll go. You said 84?
I did.
What is not one of the strengths or benefits of Rogerian counseling? A, acceptance, B, concreteness, C, openness, D, versatility. So it's looking at what is not one of the strengths or benefits of Rogerian counseling, which is person-centered.
Carl Rogers. Oh, there you
go. So acceptance is, so I will eliminate that.
Okay.
Openness is, so I would eliminate that. Versatility is, so I'd eliminate that. Concreteness is not.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So with Carl Rogers, how can I be concrete? Whatever you tell me, I'm going to believe. Whatever you say, I'm going to accept. There's no concreteness. It's your phenomenological view, how you view the world. If you tell me that there are green men that are landing on your front porch, okay, we might have some medication issues there, but I'm still going to believe what you say, right? Because the client's phenomenological view. You with that? Yes. I'm going to go ahead and do 85. I know. So the people, when you struggle with group, many times it's understanding what the theorist would do. Okay, so 85, be brave.
I go for it.
Thank you.
If a group has co-leaders, which of the following is true? A, both co-leaders should always have the same amount of group experience. B, it is better if both co-leaders are the same sex, 2 males or females. Co-leaders with different theoretical orientations create a better dynamic. Or D, different reactions from co-leaders can help stimulate group energy and discussions.
Well, first, what can it not be?
Hold on one second. I'm trying to look at it. I'm trying to read it. Hold on one second.
Take your time. Take your time. It's really okay.
I'm trying to eliminate the answer. Hold on a minute. I know it's not B. It's better if both co-leaders are the same sex.
The opposite is true. It's actually better if I have a male and a female. I know men and women think different. Yes. I'm going to take out B. Definitely.
Well, let me try the next one. 86. Which of the following?
No, so 35. So 35. Okay. B is not true. Which asks me, which of the following is true? Does it matter if they have the same experience in group?
No. No,
it does not. I definitely remember being my newbie a million years ago, and as my kids would say, when dinosaurs roamed the land. But definitely I remember starting and you know, my co-leader in group, she let me sit in with her and she was amazing. It was so new and so green. I learned so much from her. So
I think it even says that sometimes when you have a co-leader, it's good when you have another leader who actually has much more experience, because it helps train that co-leader to become more comfortable, knowledgeable, and experienced through that experience of the other leader. Sorry, I didn't mean to say
I can't even go with the co-leader. I can just tell you what was best for me because I was so green. Okay. And I learned so much from them. I was the one that you know, if we're talking about a career theorist, right? I started my career at all of the age of 24 and I knew everything. Right? I started a group, and thank you, Lord, for giving me a co-leader that had some sense that could tell me, Pam, shut up, right? So A and B are both out. Now between C and D. Are you still there, Jamel?
Say again.
So I'm between the C and a D. I took out A and B.
85.
We're still the same question.
You talking for 85, right?
I am.
Yeah, hold on one second.
But so either C or D are true. C, co-leaders with different theoretical orientations create a better dynamic, or D, different reactions from co-leaders can stimulate group energy and discussions.
So B was an answer.
So A and B are not the answer. It's between C and D.
I thought you said B was the answer.
B is not the answer.
Okay, hold on.
My answer is D. It's dog, D.
How'd you get D?
I just made it up. No, because so different theoretical orientations is not going to work. If I'm a psychoanalytic and my person is a behaviorist and I'm looking at your unconscious stuff and my co-leader says, I don't care about your unconscious stuff, that's a problem, right? They don't have to have the exact same theoretical orientation, but they got to be like on the same page. We can't have different theoretical orientations.
And with different reactions from co-leaders, Not only does it help stimulate the group energy and discussion, but it also allows for individuals to understand that you're allowed to have different responses, different reactions, and it stimulates the exact thing. It's mirroring what you want them to see, is that it's okay to have different thoughts, feelings, etc., etc.
And especially if I'm a male and a female. I know you find it hard to believe, but male and females might have different responses, right? Does it make me wrong and my male colleague wrong? No, we just have different thoughts. It's not theoretical orientation. And remember, we can't ever stop anyone from having 2, 3, 7, 12 therapists. We can't stop that, can we? All we want to do is make sure that we have this information so we're all on the same page, so we can understand that where that person is coming from. Good with that? $105. You see this one? Volunteers. Tasha, I haven't heard from you today, have I?
Me? I'm sorry.
I said Natasha, but Sharon, if you don't want, I said Natasha, and Natasha's like, find someone else answers. I swear she is.
I didn't know. I thought it was another Tasha on that. I didn't know.
Well, your name's
No,
just
yeah.
Sharon. Are you a Tasha too?
I thought you was calling me out because my camera was off.
You know, go ahead. Natasha Armstrong is so glad if you'll take that one. I swear she is. Go ahead, Sharon. 105.
Eric's counselor uses narrative therapy. Eric has written a story to describe his life as his counselor asks him to do. Now the therapist helps Eric to find exceptions and strengths to write a new story that fits better with how Eric would like his life to be. This therapeutic technique is an example of A, clarification, B, deconstruction, C, reauthoring, D, documentation.
So don't answer yet. Don't answer yet, okay? So which terms belong to narrative therapy? Which of all the four, which terms belong to narrative therapy?
I have never came across this, so I don't know.
Reauthoring. I'm just saying, you wouldn't listen today because I went over that today, right? I went over that. I went over that, right? I went over that. Yes, I discussed that today. Sharon was up in her own world, probably washing dishes, did her own thing, wasn't paying attention to me. So go back and watch the video, Sharon.
They all belong.
Okay. Reauthoring and clarification.
Reauthoring.
Reauthoring. And what's the other one that I said?
Deconstruction.
Deconstruction. I talked about the cassette player, right?
Oh, that's right. Yes, you did talk about the cassette player.
Oh yeah, okay. You might be a visual processor because you didn't hear my word. It's okay. Okay. But I know that B and C are the only terms that belong to narrative. Those are the only two. I can take out A and D purposely because they don't belong to narrative.
Right.
Okay. So between B and C, and anyone else can help her out, what's my best choice?
Wait, really quickly, Dr. Pam, I'm very confused. Clarification, deconstruction, reauthoring, and documentation do all go to narrative therapy.
They do not.
It says it in narrative therapy. We went over it today.
We did not talk about clarification. I did not mention that one time.
I thought questions and clarification go to.
Did I say that? What I said was, you've got the story in your head. You've got to then take this, so deconstruct it, right? Take it out of your head, externalize it, rewrite it, and put it back in your head. I didn't say clarification. That is not a term that belongs to narrative therapy. That's one of those active listening skills that can belong to any therapy.
But A says questions and clarification. In page 99.
Okay, so I guess I hear that, but that's not the term that I went over, was it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the goal,
Okay.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. So what I use with you are the verbiage you'll see on the test. The verbiage is to then take it out, to understand it, take it out of your head, rewrite it, and put it back in your head.
Right.
Okay.
That's the question. Right.
So,
Yes.
so clarification would not be a term that you would necessarily put with narrative therapy. Clarification could belong to any theorist.
Okay.
Does that make sense? And I'm not trying to, I just want to understand, I want to teach you that it's not necessarily a term that would belong just to narrative therapy. The only two I know for sure that belong to narrative therapy are B and C. Clarification could belong to any theorist.
Okay.
That's an active listening skill to clarify. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So B and C are the only two that are specifically for narrative therapy.
And my answer would be C, reauthoring.
Okay. Does that make sense? And I'm not trying, I swear I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to be petty. I just want you to understand that while clarification might be a term that belongs to narrative, the only two terms that only belong to narrative are B and C.
Okay, so Dr. Pam, I'm confused just like they are, because when I go back to study this in Hellwick, I'm going to look at, and I'm going to see that part, it says some specific therapeutic techniques and interventions maybe, and this is actually under the narrative.
We go back.
And it does mention A, questions and clarifications.
So we only supposed to look at.
But we only
does
should look at the ones
clarification
that you
only
gave us?
belong to narrative?
No, it doesn't.
No, I'm just saying up under the
Remember
top.
though, no, remember, does clarification only belong to narrative?
No.
It's one of the active listening skills that many theorists may use. Clarification is, if I don't understand what you said, girl, I got a 19-year-old, 20-year-old, she says terms to me that I don't understand. I'm like, what does that mean? Mom, that's sus. That's sus. What does that mean? So clarification can belong to anybody. While yes, it is one of the terminology for clarity, for narrative, clarification is one of the active listening skills. It can belong to any theorist. You look at me like, Dr. Pam, you're lying.
Also, I was just thinking, when you always talk about like it's a reading test, right? So when you're looking and it literally says to write a new story. So, you know, I think when you're doing that, then you realize, okay, well, then you're authoring something because you're writing it. Just to help people who were looking for that answer on making it easier.
I did get how the correct answer was chosen. I guess what threw me was when she said clarification was not a part of. So I think that's
I think she was saying
maybe what
not the buzzword that you're going to need for the test.
Right.
No, what I wanted to say is I'm looking for the words that only belong to that theorist. And clarification, I'm going to pull up those group terms.
Page 99.
No, I'm not going there.
Oh, yeah.
I want to go down when we talk about those active listening skills. I'm not sure what that is. So active listening skills, we can all clarify. That doesn't just necessarily belong to narrative therapy. Clarification, we could use at any time. Clarification would say, what, I don't understand what you're saying. Explain it to me. What is reflection? What is
I'm almost
reflection?
scared to say anything. Thank you.
I'm not gonna, I haven't bitten anybody today. I have not. Okay.
Reflection, thinking back on something that may have happened.
Feelings. Reflection is feelings. Feelings.
It's not a thought.
No thought, no, just feelings. It's the reflection is the feelings the client didn't say. So clarification is one of those active listening skills that any therapist could use. The only terms that specifically belong to narrative therapy are B and C. I think I'm about to stop working. Okay, does that make sense though? Am I losing you?
I'm lost.
That makes sense. I think it makes.
So 105 is I think a very typical question when you're stuck. And I'm trying to narrow it down to who it belongs to. Give me 1 second. My doorbell ring, okay? Hold on. Hey, hold on.
Judy.
Yes, ma'am.
You feel like she almost saying that word, even though they used it, that word just does not, it can belong to anybody. Just like Freud, we know that he is psychosexual, right? He is psychosexual, period. Right.
I get that part, Kendall. It's just that, and I knew the answer was reauthoring for this.
Right.
But when she said that this particular word classification wasn't in the narrative therapy, when I went back, and it's like when we study and I go back to look at the Hellwood book and I see that in there, that's what threw me off.
Exactly.
I think, Judy, that was me because when she had originally asked and said, which don't belong, I was like, wait a minute, all 4 of these literally belong. They're stated in that. I think the thing here that needs to happen to like help everybody and myself too is I think she's using the term like it loosely. All 4 of these technically can belong to narrative therapy. Let's say that said it on an exam, and let's say it said 3 of these, but then there was a random word. You would still pick 3, and then the random word that we don't know, like love, wouldn't be on there. So you would still need to know those. But the specific thing that I think that she was trying to do here is what are the 2 main words that you'll typically see, which I think confused everyone, which I think also might have made it harder because you could see these. I think that that's what she really meant. So I think I confused everyone too, because I was confused with that. It's just, what is this? But this question we know is asking for reauthoring. So it really doesn't matter. And you're not wrong to know that these 4 could be there. It's just those 2 specific ones only would be narrative therapy.
Okay, I got you. All right, thank you for that.
Hey, stop. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Thank you, Rachel. Does that make sense though? I'm not trying to make it more difficult. I'm just trying to narrow it down because when you get to the 4, I've got to know the verbiage that belongs to that particular theorist, and clarification could belong to anybody. Well, it may, but it's maybe something that narrative therapists would use, but deconstruction and reauthoring can't belong to anybody else. Any theorist could use clarification. That's one of the active listening terms. Reflection could belong to any theorist.
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
Those that have taken the test before, is this not a sometimes a test question that you run into? You're like, what the heck?
I'm not seeing this particular question.
Okay. I would think that you would see something about narrative therapists and knowing what a narrative therapist would do.
Oh, I don't know now, I bet you.
And remember, civicus is the career guide. Same words, career. $109, want this one? Don't be scared. I'm not gonna bite you. I swear I'm not. I swear I'm not gonna bite you. Adrian, be brave.
Let's see. Justin has not always had problems, but currently needs some help adjusting to changes in college. His therapist sets specific goals right away. She tells him that he does not necessarily need to entirely understand his problems in order to find solutions. She also uses a scale of 1 to 10 to measure changes. What type of therapy is Justin undergoing? A, solution-focused brief therapy. B, rational emotive behavior therapy. C, person-centered, client-centered therapy. D, social constructionist narrative therapy.
Wait, no, it's not narrative therapy because we went through all those words just now, right? It is not D. Okay, so
we're going to take out C and D.
Got it.
And it's going to be A because it talks about the scaling questions and miracle questions and the acceptance questions.
Absolutely. Solution focus is the miracle question, and the scaling technique belongs to solution focused. Absolutely. Absolutely. Perfect. Everybody good with that? Let's go, guys. I actually have company. Not really alive, but kind of close to life. Ask me questions.
I'm just gonna study what you went over in the video, in this recording. Or let me ask this, like when I'm studying, should I study every under, and I'll just use narrative as an example? Or just the things that
We're always going to stay. You only study whatever you're working on. The thing is, there's so many questions, so many theories. We're only going to stay within the theory that we're currently studying. Okay, so today was helping relations. Okay, right. So look at 115. Helping relations includes my behaviorist people. Rachel, take this one for me.
Okay. Harry is a little boy whose parents have taken him to a behavior therapist. The parents want some help getting him to clean up his room, go to bed on time, get dressed for school in the morning, and complete other similar daily activities without a struggle or a big fight. The therapist makes a chart for Harry. Every time he completes a desired behavior, he gets a gold star on the chart for that activity. At the end of each week, he and his parents count his gold stars, and he gets a reward based on the number of stars, a pizza or ice cream treat, a movie, etc., something he values. Which of the following is most accurate name for the technique that Harry's therapist is using? A, token economy. B, reinforcement schedule. C, systemic desensitization. D, negative reinforcement. I'm gonna get rid of C, systemic desensitization, because that's
Does
just
that belongs to phobias only. There's no phobia in this question, right?
Isn't that bulk?
Okay.
And then get rid of negative reinforcement. And then I am between token economy and B, reinforcement schedule. And I believe that this is, I'm a little torn here between token economy and
Go
reinforcement.
back to the
schedule.
question then. What's the schedule of reinforcement?
When you are reinforcing something and you do it multiple times to then get.
That's one of the ways. Remember, it's going to be fixed interval, right? Fixed ratio. It's going to be then intermits, right? Intermit or partial. So if I reinforce you every single time, that's a fixed interval.
Okay.
If I reinforce you every 2 weeks, that's a fixed ratio, right? This is not the schedule.
Right. This is token economy because they're giving.
Absolutely. It's a token economy. That makes sense. Okay. This is one of my behavior theories. So when I see the token economy, that's under the theories of behaviors. Behaviors are going to reward you and consequence you for your behavior. Make sense?
Okay, why was it not reinforcement schedule?
You tell. Let's look. Let's look at schedule reinforcement.
Because he was getting rewarded for something.
No, because the schedule reinforcement would talk more about whether it is when it happens. The schedule reinforcement talks about how often it happens. Okay. So I work, I live in Tennessee and I work in Georgia, not gonna lie. Okay. In Georgia, they got this super speeder law. How come sometimes I speed and I still speed? I got a ticket once. Why do I keep speeding? If they consequence me every time, would I stop speeding?
Maybe.
Super speeder ticket is like, it's like ridiculous, like $30 for every mile you pick over the mile. A super speeder ticket. I got one once. I got out of it. That's the problem. I was going 55 in a 30. It was so expensive. Why do I keep speeding? Because I'm stupid? Yes. But because the consequences weren't always the same. If every time I went over the law and broke the line, it would be a fixed ratio. Every time I break the law, they charge me $1,000. Would I stop? Heck yeah, I got that kind of money. Yes. But in a variable ratio, I worked in Georgia for 15 years and I only got pulled over once or twice and I've never had to pay that kind of money. That's why I keep doing it, don't I?
Okay, so Dr. Pam, the star is the token.
Okay. Do you see my screen? The
Yes,
fixed and variable ratio?
Yeah, and I'm looking at variable and fixed. So it says.
Judy, do you gamble? Do you play to buy the lottery tickets?
No.
You should. Okay, so
no. Okay, so I just heard what you said about fixed, variable, ratio, and interval. So when I reflect back on that question, every time he did what he was supposed to do, he got a reward. But because it wasn't a fixed.
Let's go back.
Okay.
Okay. Every time he completes a desired behavior, he gets a gold star.
Right.
At the end of the week, he gets to pick something.
Right.
That's what makes it a token economy. Because I have to get so many points to pick from the toy chest.
So so this is what I understand about this. The gold star, okay, at the end of the week, he and his parents count the gold stars, right? So
Mhm.
every time he does whatever it is they want him to do, the gold star is the reinforcement, right?
It is. And if it's set a consistent reinforcement, I would take that.
Okay.
Those are one of my options, is it?
And so you kind of, I guess you're kind of looking at it as it's a token economy.
Because that's the exact definition of a token economy. If you ever worked in a school system or a residential facility, kids have to get a certain number of points before they can get what they want.
Exactly.
I used it at home with my kids. My kids were little. They had to get so many points before they could get what they want. So it's teaching kids not to expect immediate reinforcement, but you got to earn it. So economy talks about like, every time you see a client, do you get paid automatically?
Exactly. No.
You got to wait to the end. So a token economy it's teaching the real world, but you get a token or you get something until you get enough points to buy what you really want. The reinforcement schedule is whether it's intermittent or it's variable or any of those things. So of this one, that's exact a definition of a token economy. And that's a behaviorist theory.
I think that's what threw me. This is a reading test, Judy.
What?
This is a reading test.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I've got to go. Thank you for hanging out with me on our Saturday night.
Thank you.
We went over our theorists. I tried to cover most of them. Okay, so I hope you found it helpful.
Now, how do we get this video? Like, how do we?
I actually don't know. Does Prudence send out you automatically, guys, or do you have to request it?
She sends it on Monday typically.
Okay.
If you don't get it, just email her.
Yeah, it just shows up automatically in your email. Sorry. I don't know that part.
Oh, so it shows up automatically. Okay.
If it doesn't, email Prudence on Monday.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pam. Have
Okay,
a
it's
good
been a
one,
pleasure, guys.
everybody.
Bye,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Pam. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Very helpful.